Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And also joining us in studio, senior sports editor, your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
I had something funny I was going to say. I forgot it, so I'll just say, hello, everybody. How you doing?
All right, how's everybody's week been going?
Not bad.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Mine I can't complain about right now, but you didn't come here to hear us talk about that. You came here to hear us talk about some sports. So join in that conversation on social media. You can hit us up at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. Join in on Facebook. Join in on Twitter. Join in on Instagram. Join in on Podchaser. Drop that 5-star review. And always remember, use the hashtag ODPH. And if we're talking sports, you know we kick off every sports edition of the ODPH podcast talking about the NFL week that was and our locks and leaps. Pad, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with my lock, which was the Buffalo Bills to beat the New York Jets. I believe the line was like 14 or something like that.
13.5.
Which the Bills did not get, but they still won by the final score of 18-10. Josh Allen, 30 of 43 for 307 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And then Sam Darnold, 12 of 23, 120 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Coach, your thoughts, or would you like me to take this one?
I mean, I'll defer to you because I know you would defer to me on the Giants. So.
All right, so this one was an ugly game, and this was a trap game that was waiting to happen by the time that the Bills' first series was
for the
up.
Jets, right? Because they got Kansas City next week. That's what you're saying, right? It was a trap game for them?
It was a trap game for everybody involved because two things to take away from this first half. One, the Bills came out absolutely flat. They were looking at New England. There was no rhythm to their offense. Josh Allen, I don't know what the hell he was doing running with the ball. And he was obviously keeping out, doing some turnovers. Their kicking game suspect. I'm getting very nervous about this. I know Hushka is no longer there. This one is not exactly putting me at ease.
They need to sign that guy. I saw the video on Facebook. You might have seen it, where this guy did a field goal kick by himself without a placeholder. He spun the ball and just kicked it.
They got to get something.
Hey, Rosas is available if you don't mind, hitting runs.
I got to take what I can get, but at this stage, this was a scary place with Bass kicking. Obviously, relying on him to get you all your points is not a good sign.
No,
because he killed me week 1.
Yeah, no, he has this effect where I know he's brand new and he's just trying to get every kick he can in, but Tyler Bass has got to get better about this.
Can we just, real quick, if we can dive into the kicker aspect, because it's just something that's not talked about.
No.
How insane is it? You talk college, 15-yard hash to hash. So they're kicking, when it's on the left hash from an angle of 45-ish, 40 degrees, from the left hash if you're a right-footed kicker to make it into the, the upright.
Yeah.
And the NFL, it's condensed. It's only 10 yards hash to hash. How is it so how do these rookie kickers and punters become such an issue? I mean, I remember the Giants, Riley Dodge, was the punter after Weatherford retired for, about a cup of coffee until they cut him. And, I don't get it. You're just, all you got to do, it's not like you need to learn the playbook. You don't need to remember snap count and, who the Mike linebacker is and what the protection's going to be. All you got to do is catch the ball and kick it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that you did in college. It's the same thing.
And funny you bring up college. I'm looking at Tyler Bass's college numbers for his 4 years at Georgia Southern University. He had a field goal percentage of 79.4. And from 1 to 19 yards out, he was 1 for 1. 20 to 29 yards out, he was 13 for 14. 30 to 39 yards out, he was 13 for 17. And then 40 to 49 yards out, he was 25 of 32. And then 50 plus, he was 2 for 4.
Well, I think about Kyle Bresna from Notre Dame, who's the all-time leading, or was until Yoon came through, who was the all-time leading scorer, kicking-wise for Notre Dame. Couldn't make it in the NFL because he couldn't kick. And same with Yoon. He's not in. Justin Yoon's not in the NFL. Yeah. He's the all-time leading scorer in Notre Dame for kickers. and they can't make it in the NFL.
It's got to be a mental thing.
Hey,
Don't ask me why. I wish I had a good answer for this.
No, I know. It's just, you think about it. I think of really, like Chicago, for example, the double doink, rookie kicker.
It's just something when they get to the pro level, and obviously this year you got to put an asterisk on it because little to no crowds at every game.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But playing in front of that many fans each and every week, maybe it's just something that they're not used to feeling that pressure at being at the pro level. I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to spitball a guess here because I don't get it. And to see how Bass has been kicking, that has been a very big worry for me.
Yeah,
going forward.
I'll say it was to the point where we were out watching the game, Ken, you and I, and you told me with Bass, as suspect as he's been, you don't even look up until after he's kicked the ball.
Yeah, I can't because he somehow has this like mystique that if it's a chip shot, he's wide right. And if it's like some freakish 50-yard shot, he's like right down the middle.
Well,
Like,
it's a point of contention for fans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big, like, you know, when you're talking about the fact that week 1, I mean, he missed, 2 field goals?
Yeah.
You know, against the Jets week 1? I mean, it shouldn't be a concern, you know? And, I mean, the fact that they moved the extra point back to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's rushing in to try and block these kicks. You know, everybody just stands up and does the pat unless the game's close.
Yeah.
And they're still missing them.
It's absolutely wild to see, and this is not going to help a Bills offense that could not put it in the end zone. Albeit, though, they did have about 3 touchdowns get called back for stupid penalties.
Yeah, oh yeah, there was that one sequence.
Yeah, so...
Oy.
But the takeaway is the Bills couldn't score, and then they had nothing to bounce back from the Jets, who actually looked like a competent football team for 2 quarters.
And I think the reason for that being is, and I can't take credit for learning this, a Jets fan, I overheard a Jets fan talking about this yesterday. Adam Gase wasn't doing the play calling.
Right. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he gave a 0-6 start. He decided, you know what? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just calling horrible plays. Maybe, you know, you see that in everyday life. Oh, if you're a little down, things aren't going well, you change your routine a little bit. You know, Gase, 0-6, you know what? Why don't we change things? Why don't I actually let my offensive coordinator call the plays? And you know what? Looked pretty good for a couple quarters.
They looked good for a couple quarters. Like I said, Frank Gore looked like the Frank Gore old. I think he had 38 yards of his total 60 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Like he looked
first 10 minutes.
Yeah, he looked absolutely freakish. LaMichael Preen, he looked like a competent running back, and I'd never heard of him. And he actually, 39-1? So you have to say this team actually showed some life. But then once we get to the second half, thank God for adjustments because the Bills looked like the same defense schemes that they were running against Tennessee and Kansas City. They weren't changing up. They finally got off their asses and switched it, and they did stop the Jets for, I think, a total of, 4 yards the entire second half?
Something like that.
Something freakish like that.
Yeah.
Still couldn't punch it in the end zone, but they got the win. It was ugly. Is nothing really to write home about.
Right.
If they do this against New England next week, I guarantee you it'll be a long day for any Bills fan. And for the Jets, well, congratulations. You're still in the tank for Trevor race.
If Trevor goes.
If he does.
And I did see their projections are that the Jets have a 55% chance to get the number 1 overall pick.
Oh, I mean, it's going to take them to have an epic win streak to get it out of anybody else's grasp right now.
Yeah.
But enough said about that game. Bills have a big test next week against New England, and they better lock it up because after that they got Seattle and Arizona lined up, which is not going to be any fun days. Pat, who you got?
So for my leap, I decided I was feeling Derrick Henry and the playmaking and running ability. Maybe it was because I got him on my fantasy team. And I chose the Tennessee Titans to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers as my leap. However, did not pan out. Came close, though. Pittsburgh won by the final score of 27-24. Ben Roethlisberger, 32 of 49 for 268 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then Ryan Tannehill, 18 of 30 for 220 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Coach, you want to talk about kickers? How about Stephen Gostkowski at the end?
I don't get what's going on there. I mean, my God.
I had no words for that.
But I mean, that's not even the tape of this game because Pittsburgh was up 24-7 and then let their foot off the gas. You know, I mean, this Pittsburgh team is very good. You know, I mean, granted, when you're up big on a team like that, you know, you might have, you know, some issues, you know, being able to score on some teams, and that will happen. You know, I mean, I think it's a little bit, you know, it's inevitable that, you know, you're going to be able to stop teams, but then adjustments happen, and that's what happened in this game. You know, the Titans made adjustments at halftime that, you know, the Pittsburgh might have let their foot off the gas and let them in the game. I mean, you limit Derrick Henry, but you got to be able to put the kibosh on Tannehill, and that's what they weren't able to do in the second half.
I was just looking at something. Ken, your kicker has better stats than Gostkowski does.
This is a parallel universe, man. 2020.
Field goal percentage for Tyler Bass, 70.6% for the year, which is good for 28th in the league. On the flip side, Stephen Gostkowski, 62.5%, good for 32nd in the league. And then extra point percentage, 94.7%, which is tied for 19th. That's for Tyler Bass. Stephen Gostkowski, 90%, which is tied for 24th. Holy cow.
You want to talk about like a semi-fall from grace, man. I mean,
Maybe there's a reason New England got rid of him.
New England is looking very smart in certain aspects.
So you see that every now and then, that like they get rid of a longtime player, somebody been with them a while, and you go, what the hell are they thinking? And then a couple of weeks later, you go, oh, that's what.
And I figured he might be the missing piece for Tennessee because take away nothing from this performance. They scrapped with Pittsburgh. This was as smash mouth as you get. Pittsburgh definitely implemented their will early, and I thought this was going to be a runaway game.
Oh, yeah, especially up 24/7 at halftime. I think what happened is Tennessee relying on Derrick Henry a little bit and realized, okay, because Derrick Henry, 20 carries for 75 yards, 1 touchdown, realized, all right, not going to be able to lean on him the entire game like we did last week. Time to flip the script on this one.
Yeah, and you actually had Ryan Tannehill play
decent.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't want to take anything away from him because he's had a career resurgence being in Tennessee. But if you think about it on paper, was he going to be able to hang with Ben Roethlisberger? Let's be honest.
I mean, on paper, you would think no, because I mean, you just look at the running game: James Conner, Derrick Henry. Okay, advantage Tennessee. But then you look at the receiving core. You got Juju Smith-Schuster.
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. Whereas with Tennessee, you go AJ Brown, Corey Davis, Adam Humphries. AJ Brown. Hell of a day. 6 catches for 153 yards, 1 touchdown. Yo.
Yeah, no, they balled out of their minds the second half, which...
Whoever's playing Tennessee next week, double cover that guy.
Yeah, Tennessee actually showed they were more than a one-dimensional offense, which they needed to. And I think that, if anything, I don't want to say this was a good loss, but this was a really good barometer to see, is Tennessee for real? Yeah. And I fully believe they are. I think that Ryan
They're
Tannehill...
a contender.
Yeah, well, Ryan Tannehill, like I said, when you have Derrick Henry, who's a league MVP candidate in his own right.
He fixes a lot of holes.
Yeah, he covers a lot of Band-Aids. So Tannehill is looking like a competent quarterback, but when it actually came down to throw, he was nailing some shots there. And he was keeping up with Roethlisberger, which I was very surprised to see. I have to admit. Yeah. That was the biggest takeaway for me, and how Tennessee came right down the field. And you can't do anything better than get in that position to kick that tying field goal, and then, well, kickers are going to kick. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. I'm not blaming this all on Gostkowski, because it's not all on him, because the fact that Tennessee had a fight to get back there is just, it's heartbreaking when it gets down to that last minute and you have a chance to tie and get in the game in overtime, and then it's anybody's guess what happens there. It's just the fact that Tennessee could scrap with Pittsburgh. That's the takeaway from this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think Tennessee really hasn't lost many pieces from year to year, from last year to this year. So, I mean, they were, in the AFC title game last year? So, I mean, they're still a good team. Yeah. Defensively, actually, they've looked a little weaker. Logan Ryan left. Obviously, now with the Giants, and they picked up Clowney, who hasn't really had the year that he did last year in Seattle. Maybe that's why teams weren't jumping to sign him to such a lucrative deal. It might make sense, but Tennessee's a very serviceable team. I think the biggest thing is that if it comes down to a shootout, a game against Kansas City, a game against another high Baltimore. Well, I mean, they were able to stop Baltimore last year, but if it does come to a shootout where they can't rely on running the ball, the problem is, do they have enough firepower to keep them in games? And I mean, Tannehill played good, and AJ Brown 165 yards, that's great, but I mean, you got to be able to stop teams too if they're going to put up points, and they were able to stop Pittsburgh. You saw they got back into the game, but I think Pittsburgh is right now an upper echelon of the NFL. I mean, people are saying that they're better, they're ranking them higher than Kansas City because of the record. But then when you really break down the eyeball test, I mean, I would still put Kansas City as one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But Pittsburgh is very good, and I really, if that comes down to an AFC title game or a playoff game, I'm here for that. Because that would be a great game.
I'm looking at Pittsburgh's schedule. They do not play Kansas City this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come playoff time, that'll be a great game. And, I mean, I think Tennessee's going to be – obviously, anytime that you got a running back that you can chew clock up with and you're able to effectively do it, you saw it in the game against Houston, the week before. If they're able to – in the Bills game, they really were able to run Derrick Henry well. If they're able to keep the ball, and the clock moving – they're tough to beat.
Absolutely. I mean, Tennessee is going to be in here for the long haul. I mean, they're running slowly but surely away with the AFC South. So now is the question of can they sustain this momentum going into the playoffs? And for Pittsburgh, I mean, they're clicking on all cylinders. I mean, what can you say? They're 6-0.
6-0. They got Baltimore next week, which that matchup just got real interesting.
That's going to be a great
That's
game.
Sunday night, right?
No, that's 1 o'clock.
Oh.
It's a 1 o'clock game, and Baltimore is
Wild.
signing Dez Bryant to their
Yeah.
practice squad. So that just got real
Yeah, but
interesting.
he's not going to get clear in time.
Probably not.
No, but the fact that they might have a weapon going into the playoffs, that's going to be a huge
It's
thing.
also
30-plus-year-old weapon.
It's also the only the first time they're playing Baltimore. They do have a second matchup at the end of November.
So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to from this game. But Pittsburgh, like I say, this was a good test to see where everybody ranked. Pittsburgh, obviously, the last undefeated team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And for Tennessee, there's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, the fact that they scrapped and came back, this is what you want to see out of a team that a lot of people, I mean, including myself, was very skeptical of, okay, were they going to be able to recapture that magic from last year? I think it's safe to say they do.
Yeah.
I think it's very safe. But now, obviously, they're in a weaker division.
Yeah.
What are they going to do when they get in the playoffs?
Right.
And can they really keep up with a shootout with Kansas City?
And that's the thing with Tennessee, too, is, they were able to rely on Derrick Henry, and that caught some people maybe a little flat-footed. That ain't catching nobody flat-footed this year.
Yeah, they're not going to surprise anybody.
Because you go up against a team with a good front line on defense and then a good secondary, what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be almost next to near impossible to stop anybody on that. So it's just anybody's wait and see, I guess.
Yep.
And to clear up to Sunday night's game is going to be the Cowboys at the Eagles.
Oh,
Oh,
So
okay.
they haven't flexed out of that one.
Love it. Well, they can't yet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
NFC East dominating the primetime games because Monday night, the Giants, baby.
Well, speaking of
record
those,
low ratings.
speaking of those Giants, shall we get into it, Coach?
Yeah, well, I mean, we all had the same lock, so let's get that out in the air there because we all thought the Bills. Oh, you didn't pick
No,
the
I
Bills.
didn't. No.
Wow, shame on you.
No,
shame on you
I-
for not speaking the truth to your team, man.
Because I knew his division. I always say this. There's certain rules I do about with locks and leaps. If
Well-
it's division, I try staying away from them because you never know.
I stay away from my team on just a general basis.
I, on the other hand, did not, and I picked them hot Giants coming off of that very close loss against the Dallas Cowboys to beat Philly. Although I also played the points, which unfortunately, just finding out, does not count in our thing, which is hurtful because they covered. They lost 22-21. Pad, before I go into my spiel, please.
The thoughts, views, and opinions upcoming are that of Coach Duffy. Listener discretion is advised.
Oh, I was going to have you give him the stats, but we'll roll with that too.
Yeah,
Because
well,
let me tell you,
we have to give you that sound all the time.
I was in a roller coaster of emotions this game. It was all the highs and lows of being a Giants fan. I went from them being up 10 or 14-6 or something like that, thinking, holy shit, they're the best team in football. They're going to, oh, no, excuse me, they were down 7-0. I thought they were the worst team in football, that they shouldn't have been on the field. Then somehow they got up 14-10, and I said, oh my God, this is the best team in the NFC East. They're going to fuck around. They're going to win this division. They're the best team in football. Watch out. Here we come. We're going to get on a roll. We're going to win this division. We're going to win the Super Bowl. That's what I thought. That was my high. And then Daniel Jones fell, running 21.0 mile or 21.2 miles per hour, which is the fastest speed, second to DK Metcalf later that night or week.
Also, the longest run by a quarterback since Marcus Mariota in 2015.
Yep, but
Yeah.
then the turf monster jumped out, grabbed his leg, he rolled over.
No, I thought it was Randy Orton. I thought he RKO'd him.
Yeah,
I saw
there's a
those
lot of
memes.
things.
Amazing.
Thought he got stunned by Stone Cold.
And then I turned to Aaron, my wife, and I said, this is it. This is it. They're not going to score on this drive. Aaron, they're not going to fucking score on this drive. They were wide open run, and they aren't going to score. Luckily, they did score, so thank God for that. However, then, Philly has time left on the clock because Evan Ingram, alligator arms, a wide open pass, a beautiful play call by Mr. Jason Garrett, who I theorize has found the niche with this team. I think he finally gets it. I think he's calling great plays. I think the schemes right now are working offensively, although they're not putting up huge points. I think that the offense is moving and they're getting momentum. Wayne Gallman finally got in the game, which I don't understand why he was so low on the depth chart in Giants' eyes, because he had played very well in relief of Saquon Barkley, last year, especially after he rolled his ankle. But I'm digressing. So then, the Evan Ingram drops the pass, which he leads tight ends since 2015 in drops, which is nuts to me because crazy, everybody thinks he's such a dynamic playmaker and everything. And, you look at the likes of, all the other tight ends in the league, Travis Kelce, Kittle, and Hooper and all these other tight ends that get all this, fanfare. And, I mean, everybody's always so high in, Evan Ingram. Well, the results aren't there, I mean, and it's shameful because I think he's a dynamic player. They should be able to move him out in the wide receiver spots and do all these things with him, and he's just not reliable. So if they, trade him, they trade him. But, he drops a pass. Philly comes down the field, and then on one of the worst defensive calls of all time, Jabril Peppers. I don't know what he looked like Landon Collins out there in coverage. Boston Scott, came out of the flat for a nice little, angle route, whatever you want to call it, wheel route for running backs. Carson Wentz put the ball. I mean, first off, this is after penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. Put Philly on the 2-yard line, put him on the 10-yard line, put him back to the 2-yard line, then put him back to the 20-yard line. I was like, the Giants are going to be able to win this game. They're going to pull it out. They're going to stop them. Mm-hmm. Not until, Scott caught that touchdown pass and then the Giants lost. And then my roller coaster ended with then saying, they're the worst fucking team in football.
Well,
they're terrible.
They're not.
No, they are.
No.
Listen, the Jets almost beat the Bills. The Jets
The Jets were in that game for 2 quarters.
So
the Jets were in that game for 2 quarters, and that was kind of like the planets aligning in the universe. That was the right mix of things that happened.
Yeah.
So here's my real problem with the Giants now, because now, I mean, even though they're still in the division, they're out of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So here's the problem. They are in the potential, because if the Jets, something happens, the moon, stars, all of them align, they could win a couple games. The Giants are going to beat Dallas come when they play in New York. They're probably going to beat Philly when they come to New York too. So there's 3 wins now. They're probably going to beat Cincinnati because their defense is all right. So there's going to be 4. And then they might fuck around and win a 5th game. So they're going to go from the 2nd pick or potential 1st all the way to 9th or 10th like they do every year. And I'm going to be pissed because at least at the minimum, if they're not going to, Justin Fields might be there, Trevor Lawrence might be there, the wide receiver out of LSU might be there, the Alabama wide receiver who's done for the year, unfortunately got injured, he might be there. So, these picks might be in the top 5. I don't know if they'll be there at 9. And now this is a problem for me.
Well, I think you got to look at it from a couple different angles from this. I can understand your point of view because obviously the team is not playing up to snuff. But I will agree with you. Garrett has called some better games.
Yeah, much better.
Much better. Yeah. And if it wasn't for Ingram dropping that ball, that was your momentum killer. And
I mean, they listen. That took the wind right out of the sail.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a 3rd and 1. Beautiful play call. Philly had no idea what was coming at him.
And it hit him right in the hands.
And it hit him right in the hands.
Yeah, like that. There's no excuse for that.
No.
So for all the hype that Ingram gets, because I think what it is, he reminds me of Jeremy Shockey.
Yo.
No.
That's a callback.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No. Ken, no.
That's why I think the hype
Eric
is there.
Ingram. Eric Ebron, if anything. Tight end with a ton of hype who kind of coasted his entire NFL career. That's what it reminds me of. Because Eric Ebron came in, he's going to be the greatest tight end in NFL history. He can block. He can do everything. Vernon Davis, that style, that mode. He can be on the outside. He can be in the inside. He can play tight end. He can block. That's what I would say. Jeremy Shockey, Ken, listen, Giants fan here. Jeremy Shockey was a man-child. He was George Kittle before George Kittle was George Kittle.
See, I just think about just taking the character out of him. I just think it's just kind of like how they run routes and how they catch balls. Like that's,
well, Jeremy Shockey caught everything.
Yeah.
Ingram drops everything.
But I think it's just because they both drafted and were they both from Miami too, if I'm not mistaken?
No, Ingram is from Ole Miss.
Okay.
He was the SEC.
I think it's just because he is the high-profile tight end.
Sure.
Maybe that's why it's clicking in.
No, I mean, I understand. Yeah, he's the highest drafted tight end that the Giants had in a long time.
Yeah.
And they're famous for their tight ends.
Yeah, and
Shockey.
I think that's just what it kind of reminds me of. Like, the hype is there for him, but he's just has never delivered. He's had a couple great games, But it's just nothing that has really been like, okay, you're reinventing the position. Like, do I consider you're on the same level as Kelsey and Kittle? No.
Fuck no.
No.
God, no.
No way you should.
Oh, which is brutal because he should have been. When he came out, that's what everybody, it wasn't because Kittle and Kelsey weren't exactly up to that level yet. But, I mean, the comparisons were there of, he's going to be, the next great Giants tight end.
Yeah.
And he has not lived up to that bill. I mean, mind you, listen, this was a team that, after Jeremy Shockey got traded to the Saints, was Kevin Boss.
Yeah.
Who? But a very consistent pass catcher and route runner, and I mean, arguably right now the best Giant tight end is Caden Smith out of Stanford, who I don't think plays enough. We talked last year about Pat Schumer running, the 11 set, which is 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers too much. But, when you look at who the wide receivers are, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, outside of that, Darius Slayton, is good, could be in that role. But the 2 tight ends are arguably just as good as the 3 wide receivers. So I would run Caden Smith more, but that's just my opinion.
No, and I think that's not a bad call to do as well, because I think that for the Giants, they got to do something, but they are taking steps in the right direction. But when Ingram dropped that pass, that was the game.
And I stayed up. I was sucker. I fell for it. It's documented. I get up at fucking 5 a.m. and I was like, listen, I am going to bed at halftime. The debate was on. I was like, all right, I'll watch this. The Giants were on my phone. I'll watch this, and then I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. And then they were winning, and I was riding that high. Super Bowl champs, here we come. And then, boom, the lows. And that's being a Giants fan for you, ladies and gentlemen. And that's also the story of 2020.
Yeah, no, I could definitely hear that. But like I say, it was just Ingram and the last 5 minutes and the defensive atrocities that were happening.
Also just a bad game for Philly because final score 20. Let me get the stats in because I haven't even read the stats.
Sure.
22-21 Philly won. Carson Wentz 25 of 43 for 359 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes 20 of 30 for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. This is a bad game for Philly in my opinion. The Giants are their own ball of mess.
Easy. This was the Giants' performance that made Philly a bad team.
This was a bad Philly performance though because you look at last week where they were getting blown the you-know-what out by Baltimore, screwed around and came back and only lost by 2.
Hey, that's because Baltimore left the foot off the gas. Listen, this was a Giants performance, not Philly. This was Giants, baby.
To me though, that
Super Bowl champs.
To me though, you lost
back on the high.
You lost to Baltimore. You should be riding that high. You should have beaten the Giants by more than 2. I'm not going to say by like double digits.
That's what I'm saying.
Not by 21 or 28 or 30 something. Not by like that much, but like you should have still beat them by more than just 1 point.
And I got one more thing too. Mr. Harper of the Giants, I believe 37 or 45. One got a personal foul late in the game for getting in the face of somebody in the end zone, which cost the Giants a pass interference call or whatever. Then Harper tackles Deshaun Jackson as he's laying on the ground after a punt. Now, he didn't get the flag for it. They called the helmet-to-helmet hit, which was complete bullshit because Deshaun leaned into the hit. So what can you do? But, whatever. That's the rules these days. But then as Jackson's laying on the ground, Harper jumps on him. And his leg was all the way, in the bent position. And it rolled his knee, and now he's out again. That, when Joe Judge talked about, they cut a guy last week who had the penalty on the kickoff or the special teams play against the Cowboys that cost that touchdown. Harper should get cut too because that was bullshit. He was clearly down, and you lunged while he was laying on the ground, and you injured the guy. And I like Deshaun Jackson. I've been a Giants fan my whole life.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. You can't do that. And then also, dear Philly fans, you fair weather motherfuckers, you know who you are. Don't go on Facebook talking about how you hate Carson Wentz and then 2 months later say how much you love him.
Facts.
Pick your lane.
Facts.
Pick your lane. Either you love him or you hate him. Ken, you've known me. You understand how much have I been on the Danny Dimes bandwagon for?
Since this day one.
Well, yes, but how consistent have I been saying if the Giants have the ability to draft Trevor Lawrence?
You should get him first foremost, yeah.
I've been consistent from day one. From day one with it. Mm-hmm. Pick your lane. Either you love Carson Wentz or you hate Carson Wentz. You take him at his best. You take him at his worst. But do not sit here and tell me, oh, he's my quarterback, and then the next week when they play
You're
whoever
ready to
they
run
play,
him out of town.
when you're ready. Oh, Jalen Hurts is the truth. Let's get him in. Send Carson Wentz packing. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm tired of it. It's exhausting. Pick a lane.
Or certain fans of Miami with Tua.
Yeah,
Pick a fucking lane, and then stick in it.
And since we're talking about injuries, though, let me flip it to Cleveland.
Yo.
Okay, I
suffered.
feel better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just feels good to do that. You know?
At Coach Stuffy11 on Twitter, we will definitely keep that conversation going. At OD Parlay Hour 2.
Fair weather.
But getting back to Cleveland, though, they did suffer a very big injury since we were talking about legs and wide receivers. Odell Beckham Jr. out the year.
Yep.
Torn ACL, I believe.
Yep.
And definitely that is going to hurt the Browns moving forward.
Yeah.
But the Browns, though, for my lock, they did win. They didn't cover, though. Pad, you got those stats.
Yep, so the Browns won by the final score of 37-34. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 28 for 297 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then Joe Burrow, 35 of 47 for 406 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Coach, are the Browns more a contender, less a contender? Any change of your opinion?
I mean, I'm less worried about the Browns. Better watch out for them Bengals. I mean, we're sitting 1-5-1, but they've been in a lot of that 1-5-1. You know what I mean? A lot of those 5 losses are within a touchdown or less. So I think that this team, once they get a defense and maybe a little bit better of an offensive line, so Joe Burrow doesn't have to run like a madman,
Yeah.
they're going to be a playoff team.
I think in a couple of years, they're going to look good. I mean, unless they pull something crazy off in free agency.
You know, I mean, they got an asset in A.J. Green that, you know, right now Tyler Boyd and Higgins are playing pretty well, that it might be disposable. You know, you might be able to leverage him for some additional picks. Probably not a first round because he hasn't just been playing up to that level, but, you know, second or third. We've seen wide receivers, obviously, that are of elite caliber earn first round picks in return. So, who knows? You know, you might get a team that's desperate enough that needs it, New England, that, you know, might be willing to shell out that first pick. But I'm saying he's an asset that can be moved, that this can leverage this team to be very good. And, I mean, on to Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, they're a good team. Baker Mayfield obviously was healthier. The loss of Beckham, we'll see. I mean, is it the Patrick Ewing complex here, where maybe, or Patrick Ewing theory, I should say, where, you know, maybe now without the attention that he draws from your quarterback, having to get him the ball, you know, will Baker Mayfield feel a little less pressure and be able to distribute a little bit better? I mean, the young man. I'm trying to get his name up here. Their Higgins, our Higgins here, Rashad Higgins, you know, was able to step into that role. You know, I mean, Jarvis Landry's obviously, you know, not been the same since he left Miami, but he's still an elite playmaker that, you know, maybe now he'll step up too and be able to have more opportunities, and we'll see. I mean, it's definitely going to help change the play calling. Stefanski's going to be able to now really say, hey, listen, we need to run the ball, and that needs to be our primary weapon. And, you know, I don't think Landry will complain because he's never been that kind of guy, and Higgins not, because he's going to be thankful he's getting an opportunity. So this, I mean, I don't want to say that because I thought Beckham was playing really well. You know, I think the negativity around him is mostly just media presence that just loves to focus on that because it pushes ratings and headlines. Being able to say, oh, there's Odell Beckham throwing a tantrum again. You know, I think that's mostly just narrative by fake news media, if you will, if I can borrow that coin. And I just don't think it's fair. But, you know, you never want to see a season-ending injury, especially to a guy of his skill level being an ACL tear, because that's going to be a year minimum, you know, and that's a tough road back.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of your question, are the Browns for real? Are they less or whatever? I think it's kind of like even keel. Like, let's not forget, they scored their go-ahead touchdown with 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Like, this to me, like, this wasn't a dominant win. This didn't improve your stock any bit. It stayed the same, and if anything else, the loss of Odell Beckham Jr. knocked it down just a little bit. Not huge, not tons. If you're thinking like a line graph, it's down just a hair. You know, you're a good football team. You have good defensive players. Myles Garrett playing out of his goddamn mind the last couple of games.
Leading league 9 sacks.
Yeah, just playing out of his goddamn mind. But you're still so damn suspect that a team like Cincinnati, rookie quarterback, runs all over Hell's Half Acre, you know, just to survive and get a pass off. You know, they were 1-4-1 coming into this game. You should have beat him very easily. Obviously, the loss of Odell Beckham Jr. hurt him a little bit. Don't know what he factored into their game plan, if he was a huge part of it or he was just kind of like his usual part of it. But you should have beat him by more than just 3 points, and it should have been over well before 11 seconds were left in the game.
It's the one thing about division games, and I think I harp about this a lot on the show, is no matter how bad the teams are or how good they are, they always play each other very, very tough. I mean, like I say, I probably harp on it way too much, but it's the truth. And every time the Bengals are supposed to have a very bad team, they always give the Browns fits, and they always get in these crazy shootouts. Mm-hmm. It's a wild thing to watch, but I think if you're a Cincinnati fan, your takeaway is Joe Burrow is the real deal, and if he only had some more weapons around him, they'd probably be winning a couple more games.
Yeah.
And for the Browns, the Beckham injury is going to be a really interesting point to watch for the rest of the season. Like Coach touched upon, is this where Baker really steps up and breaks out on his own?
One would hope.
You would have to think that, yes, this might be, unfortunately. I'm not wishing injury on anybody.
No.
But for Baker now, all eyes are going to be on him. He does have a sustainable running game going, led by Kareem Hunt, because Nick Chubb, I believe, is not out for the season, but he's not expected back.
He's not coming through the doors anytime soon.
Right. And for his wide receiver core, this might give him one of those receiver by committee deals.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Jarvis Landry is Jarvis Landry, but you know him. He's not exactly a number one, but he will definitely take over some games if he has to. He'll get you those hard third downs that you definitely need. Mm-hmm. And if you can get some more productivity out of David Njoku, who I didn't even realize was still on the roster until I saw him catch a touchdown, this is going to be something for Cleveland moving forward. Is going to be the real testament of are they real or are they not. I think this is a good win against a division rival, but I'm not really sold about are they real playoff contenders just yet. I know they got the Raiders next week, and we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens there. But for Cleveland, now can't be any excuses. What team are you going to get moving forward? Sure, you can beat up some of the division teams, that are lesser than you, or some of the weaker teams that are in your conference. But now you're going to start facing tougher competition as it's moving forward. Mm-hmm. Are you going to get ran off the field, or are you not? That's the question we got to ask.
I'm looking at week 13 and 14 where they play Tennessee and Baltimore back-to-back.
That's going to be your benchmark for those guys. So that being said, Coach, final word on this week of the NFL.
I mean, I think if I can just take a moment to vent and cry about my tough break of a loss in fantasy, I would really appreciate it, guys, because I could use a shoulder to cry on. I was down 40 points going into the 4 o'clock games. Justin Herbert carried my team on his back as well as his own team. So thank you, Justin, for the service that you did for not only the Chargers, but make Tom Brady great again. Without you, I don't know if we would have ever gotten back into it. Oh, and also Todd Gurley for falling into the end zone when you were trying to land on the 1 yard line. That also helped a little bit too. That tough loss I had going into that Arizona-Seattle game up 20 after being down 40. Or I was up 30, I'm sorry, after being down 40. All I needed was Kyler Murray to not go crazy. That's all I needed. I was also going against Drake and Robert Woods, but I wasn't worried about Woods because the Rams are a roller coaster. So here I am thinking, all right, I go to bed at like 10:30 and Drake comes back from halftime out. So I'm like, okay, all Seattle needs to do for me is just contain Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. Hold him. He can get 20, 25 points. That's fine. That's 2-3 touchdowns and, 200, 250 in passing yards. I'm cool with that. I wake up to 4 touchdowns, 330 yards, and I cried. Ooh. And then it was done. I lost by 3. I had nobody left, and I lost by 3. So painful.
How absolutely wild was that Seattle-Arizona game?
That was bonkers.
But if I can praise myself real quick, not being the draft guru, I'm just an average guy. Who said DK Metcalf is an absolute man-child? This guy said that. I said it. I said DK Metcalf is a man-child, and he ran like a cheetah down the field. 22 miles per hour, right? Yeah. 22, the fastest in the NFL?
22 and change, yeah.
Dude caught somebody from 15 yards difference. Yeah. Oh, and a corner, not a linebacker, not a defensive end, not a defensive lineman, a corner.
And you should look up the video. He was the Cardinals player was mic'd up.
Yeah, Budda Baker.
Budda Baker was mic'd up on that play, and he doesn't.
Dude, it's nuts.
He doesn't say anything during the play, but after the game, he goes, "Yo, how the fuck did he catch up to me?"
I'll tell you how. He shot out of a cannon.
Hey, and guess who's got Metcalf and Russell Wilson on the same fantasy team? This guy.
I don't think that tackle counted at all, but
No, no, but it's a pretty
It looked
good,
cool.
It's a pretty good tandem to have on
Yeah.
your fantasy team.
Yeah, this was a really big win for Arizona, and like I say, the fact that they bounced back and could hang with Seattle is a real benchmark of, are they the real deal? And I think, especially in a very competitive NFC West, they really stood out. Mm-hmm. Especially, we're talking about kicker woes. Their kicker missed the game-winning field goal in overtime.
Right.
Russell Wilson had the chance. They had to call back that 48-yard touchdown to Metcalf.
Sure.
And then the next pass was an interception.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we had all said that Seattle's defense is suspect at best. You know, the Boom 2.0 or Boom Squad or whatever, 2.0 that we thought, Legion of Boom, that we thought was going to be there is not. And this is going to be a problem for Seattle. And our Super Bowl prediction, fellas, let's not forget that. We all had Seattle.
Yeah,
sure.
Hey, guys, get that shit together on the defensive end because, you know, we don't have anything riding on you, but it would be a really cool bragging rights.
Yes. Facts. All facts on this. So Seattle, like I said, got a little work to do, but you know what? This was such a big moment for Arizona. I can't take away from this. Like, Kyler Murray had his coming out party, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, he had played well. I mean, I would say his coming out party was that game against the Giants when he absolutely decimated them in the rain in Giants Stadium, because that really stood out to me as like, oh shit, he is the real deal.
I think that one was a definite moment too, but this one just stands out because maybe it's the primetime moment.
Sure.
And obviously Seattle had been on such a roll going into it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the Metcalf tackle, I mean, that's the highlight of the year right now. I don't
Pretty
think
much.
anything can come near it. I think the fact that the Cardinals hung in there and really showed some heart. I mean, that's the takeaway that I think if you're a Cardinals fan, you got to be super excited about.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
And
I think the other thing too is Cliff Kingsbury being in his first real, game of a division game, at home, and being able to outduel, Pete Carroll. I think is the biggest thing I would take away as an Arizona fan. Not only Kyler Murray's performance, but just the fact that you had a Kingsbury here, who not a lot of people were sold on, a lot of, oh my God, is he going to be able to run an NFL offense or whatever? And, he comes in and one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he's step for step, blow for blow, was right with him.
Nah, definite facts on that. Pad?
To talk about the Patriots a little bit, just real quickly, fix your fucking shit. I would not want to be in that locker room or that facility the next couple of days because Belichick is going to be something fierce. Mm-hmm. He's going to be real pissed. They had absolutely jack all going, even going so far as to bench Cam Newton for Jarrett Stidham for part of the game. Nothing going on the run game. And going in the run game, Damian Harris, 10 carries, 58 yards. Passing game had jack all going on. Like, I'm not expecting him to make the playoffs at this point, but Jesus H. Christ, fix your shit.
Hey, get Cam some help.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
and this was with the offensive line being the most intact it's been since like week 2.
maybe there is a reason why Tom wasn't looking forward to come back, and that's because James Blackberry, I don't even know, is your wide receiver. I mean, get the dude somebody.
I'll say their leading receiver was Jacoby Myers, 4 catches, 60 yards. Woohoo. You know, Rex Burkhead, who's a running back, was second with 33 catches, 35 yards.
That's brutal.
Julian Edelman not having his normal year. Only 1 catch for 13 yards.
Yeah, I think for the Patriots, obviously, we knew it was going to be a transition year, and I think a lot of people are expecting them that they should have been running away with the division, and I think there's some growing pains, obviously, with Cam Newton. That him coming back, and especially, this was brought up on, I want to say, First Take today, that since he was under COVID protocol, and is he still feeling the effects of coming off COVID?
Maybe.
I mean, we don't know, and I mean, I'm obviously not going to try playing doctor on here, but that could be a factor in this as well, that for the Patriots, this is something that they got to figure out, and they got to figure out quick.
I mean, if I may, what I see is obviously people figured out, how Josh McDaniel was going to operate with him. From week 1 to week 2 to week 3, teams, made adjustments and got prepared for that because let's not forget, we didn't have preseason.
Right.
So there was no tape to see how McDaniels was going to conduct his business with a new quarterback, a mobile quarterback. Obviously, you could go back and watch the Tim Tebow tapes, but that wasn't necessarily going to be exact. Cam Newton obviously has a better arm than Tim, and more accurate. So you can't just rely on that. But that would have helped.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is just there's no skilled players. I mean,
No.
Julian Edelman is nice, but like outside of a 5 to 10 yard in route, he's not stretching the field.
No.
So teams are able to stuff the box, able to stop the run now, and there's nothing on the outside to worry about. I mean, listen, there are teams right now that are willing to move pieces.
The Patriots got salary cap space.
And I don't see why not in this divisional race. Why not go out and add yourself a piece like Buffalo did?
They need to.
And if you got to shell out a first pick, that's what you got to shell out. I mean, Julio Jones, I 1,000% think has to be available. You got to think that maybe not Miami with Parker would probably be willing to make that move because of in-division rivals, but you got to think that there are number one wide receivers out there who are available.
They've currently got about a little over $23 million in cap space. They need to go out and get somebody. Julian Edelman is nice for those over the middle routes and those dink and dunks, but they have nothing else. Jacoby Myers is nice, but I'm not exactly going to be leaning on him come crunch time. I know they drafted N'Keal Harry, and last year he was injured for part of the year, so let's see what happens with this year. Ain't nothing panning out with him.
Will Fuller in Houston, even though the injuries are there. I mean, Brandon Cooks, reuniting with Brandon Cooks might be an idea. He's played well as of late. They just need something. I mean, when you look at the teams that are of the upper echelon, outside of really like Tennessee, what's the common theme here? Mm-hmm. Star wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Number one, go get me the ball and get me a first down. Those type of wide receivers, and they don't have it.
No, they definitely don't. So moving forward, like they got to figure something out and got to figure out something quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they're going to be able to find something that can carry them maybe into that playoff spot.
Well, they got 2 weeks to figure it out because trade deadline's November 6th, 7th.
Even if it's like not to fix them up for the year, plan forward.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the off season. Get somebody in there now. Get them locked up. Good deal, because obviously they've never been huge spenders.
Well, that's the other problem is what are you doing right now? Cam's on a 1-year deal. Stidham obviously to me is not the guy.
Nope.
And Brian Hoyer is not going to be back next year. So it's like, all right, if this is a holdover for next year, what are you doing? What are you going to try and go after a quarterback? Like, what are you going to try and do? Like, you have to have some sort of divisive plan. I mean, Bill Belichick and his defense is not going to be able to do it alone.
No, well, and they'll have some room to work with in terms of the teams with the most projected NFL salary cap space in 2021, and this is including carryover. Patriots are 4th. Jaguars have $75 million in cap space. Jets have $72.7 million in cap space. Colts have $66.5. Patriots have $62.6 million in cap space.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they found Tom Brady in the 6th round, and you would love to think that they would try and do that again. But I mean, just this past draft, I mean, Jordan Love was available.
Mm-hmm.
They could have gotten him. There was another quarterback who fell. Jalen Hurts, who everybody thought was going to land in the Patriots.
Yeah.
Was available too. I mean, there was guys in this draft that were available, and they just didn't pursue.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like there's a plan, which is very odd for New England.
But there's always a plan. Like that, they're the master of disguise. That's why I say I don't rule Belichick pulling something off.
How many times have they had a backup and everyone going, this is the heir apparent to Brady, and then they get shipped off and they fizzle out.
Yeah, so as much as I hate
Ryan
to say
Mallett
this,
comes to mind.
You gotta trust the process with them, and that's the scary thing because that organization is ran too well.
Well, I mean, outside of the top 2 quarterbacks, I mean, if this is what they're thinking, if they're going to pursue the draft, I mean, outside of the top 2, I mean, there's decent, but I don't think there's any really nice pieces.
No.
I mean, and listen, this is coming from a Notre Dame guy who loves Ian Book, but I mean, he's just not a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the North Dakota guy that everybody's so hung up on, I don't see it. He's not Carson Wentz 2.0.
No.
Or Josh Allen 3.0. I see very average at best. So I mean, I don't know. Outside of that, I really don't know what you're going to get if any quarterbacks come out in this class. Let's not forget they got a free year.
Yeah.
So guys might return. We don't know.
It's a weird place they're going to have to be in. So for the Patriots to make a quarterback move, who knows? I think they got a lot more woes to tidy up first before they have to worry about that.
Oh, I saw Gilmore. Did you see this news?
No.
There is rumors that the Patriots are looking to move on from Gilmore.
Jesus Christ.
Don't give Pat a heart attack like that.
I know. I saw the headline. I forgot to screenshot it, but my jaw dropped.
I mean, I think that might be a little premature.
Yeah.
I'm not really putting a little too much stock into that. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I say, there's just so much uncertainty with the Patriots, and that's so weird to say. But I think that's something that we have to get used to in this post-Brady era, that we'll kind of have to wait and see how it plans out. Very quickly, though, I want to touch upon 2 other games. Tampa Bay, 45 over the Raiders by 20. Everybody's saying Brady is back. I'm not really putting a lot of stock into it right now. I'm sorry. I think that he's had a couple good stretch runs against teams that have very lackluster defenses, because I don't think the Raiders have a great defense. I know the Packers don't. But to see him against like a tougher defense such as the Chicago Bears, where they wound up getting the loss to, and the Chargers, who scrap with everybody, and you never know what team you're going to get out of them each week. I want to say I will officially crown him that he's back if he can go win 3 out of the next 4.
Let's see if he can go in New York and beat the Giants,
Well,
baby.
like I say, he's got the Giants next week. He's got the Saints at home the following week, Carolina, then the Rams, then Kansas City. So let's see how he pulls off here. Then I'll say I'll be willing to crown him. But as of right now, I think he's done well to lead the team back. But moving forward, I'm not really willing to say that Brady is the Brady of old just yet. He's had a couple great games, don't get me wrong, but I'm challenging him on that one. And lastly, got to mention about in Washington, obviously they put the whooping on Dallas.
God, yeah, they did.
And obviously Andy Dalton took an unfortunate concussion shot that he's out now. There's a lot of questions about the leadership now in Dallas that has been buzzing around. I guess Jerry Jones made a radio appearance this morning and trying to defend, saying there wasn't a leadership issue. I beg to differ, but that's just my opinion.
Told the radio host to shut up.
Yeah, it was kind of a very messy situation, and seeing how that team is imploding, really don't know what's going to happen there. If you want to talk about issues with quarterbacks, Dallas is definitely one there.
I mean, I think there's a guy in the AFC East who should be getting a phone call.
Whoa, Fitzmagic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't see why you don't.
No, you have to
I
make
mean,
the move.
I don't understand. But they did just trade Everson Griffin, Griffith, which to me is, a seller's move, because I mean, he was one of your better defensive ends on an already bad defensive team. So maybe Dallas is sellers right now. I don't know.
It's a weird state to be involved in there. And like I said, they are very, very polarizing on what they're doing, because I truly don't know. And hearing Jerry Jones trying to put the spin on it this morning was just weird.
I think the funniest thing is that people thought Mike McCarthy was going to come in and change, and he's the same Mike McCarthy that he was before, and this team is no different than when Jason Garrett ran it.
I'll be honest. I thought they were going to play better for him. I really did, because I thought that he has more of an offensive mind, that he would definitely have implemented a different style than Garrett, and I thought they would have definitely prospered. But I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'll admit that right here.
Even pre and post, Prescott going down. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been used the exact same way, which is not efficiently. And, Amari Cooper and, Gallup has seen production go down. Now, I mean, obviously, CeeDee Lamb has came in and taken a few of those. But, I mean, at the same time, it's not, and CeeDee Lamb has not produced the last couple games. Outside that Giants game, really, what has CeeDee Lamb done? So, I mean, there's big issues in the Big D.
Yes. So they're going to have to do a lot of work. But let me end this on a happy note. After the game on Monday, Washington coach Ron Rivera had his last cancer treatment.
Hey.
Yes.
So, obviously, congratulations to him. Nothing but well wishes from us here at the panel about that. I know he's got some more follow-ups to happen, but he had his last round of chemotherapy.
Also, it goes without saying, fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer, indeed. Enough said there. So let us know what you thought, though, of this past week's NFL action. What was your takeaways from the games? Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, my name is JT.
What's up, everyone? I'm Darren.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Josh.
Hey guys, I'm Christian.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Dominic, and we're the East Coast Avengers.
We're a group of 5 friends who get together weekly and talk about everything that's going on in the nerd universe.
Whether you're a fan of Marvel, DC, Star Wars, video games, comics, or anything else nerdy that you can think of, we're the podcast for you.
You can find us on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or whatever streaming platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts on.
You can also catch us on our YouTube channel, where we release tons of content such as vlogs, unboxings, TV and movie recaps, and trailer reactions.
So if those things sound good to you, then check out the East Coast Avengers podcast. We hope you enjoy.
To go back and to see the way things really used to be. Not knowing we remember them. To go back and to see the way things really used to be. Not knowing we remember them.
Hey, this is Mike C. from Horror Zone 607, and you're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and now it's time to talk UFC 254. This past weekend, if you caught on twitch.tv/607podcast, and you should have, the panel was there with Rich from 3FN, Crazy Curtis Gaming, Liz Bailey, all watching the big fight going down from Fight Island, and the main event definitely lived up to the billing. It caused some storylines. So we are going to touch upon that in just a second, but we do want to touch a little bit on the co-main event.
Yeah.
Now, that was Jared Cannonier versus Robert Whittaker.
In the middleweight division.
Yes. And Pad?
Robert Whittaker defeated Jared by unanimous decision.
And I always say on the show, every time I go against Robert Whittaker, he proves me wrong. And this time was no different. He definitely implemented his will. He caught Cannonier with the head kick, if I'm not mistaken, that threw his equilibrium off, and then I thought he was going to get finished. But Cannonier definitely held out the round. Didn't kind of seem right after that, but Whittaker did what he does. I mean, he fights very deceptively. He fights very technical. And now he's got a match with Israel Adesanya at some point to be named. But now we go to the main event. And let me give a little backstory about this one. We do know it is going to be Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. The big fight to see who is the premier lightweight in the UFC. And technically in all of MMA. Previously to this fight, since during the pay-per-view coverage, they were showing a lot of Khabib leaving the hotel with a motorcade.
Yeah.
They were trying to give it like that extra big fight feel. And we really didn't know what was going on with that. We figured they're just filling time.
Yeah, because normally in the past they've shown fights from the prelims or even the early prelims to kill time. But I mean, I'm just looking at the early prelims. One fight went 5 minutes, another one went 3. And then in the prelims, nothing. The shortest fight of the prelims was a fight that went 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the first round.
Yeah, so this was kind of just weird to see that they were really just stretching. But we're like, okay, maybe they're trying to do this because Khabib, obviously being 28-0 at this time, is obviously warranted that. I mean, obviously he has been a dominant champion since he's won, very polarizing with a lot of fans. To flip the coin, Justin Gaethje has definitely worked his way up through the ranks, coming over from the World Series of Fighting to getting the title shot after dismantling Tony Ferguson in one of the worst beatings I've ever seen in an MMA fight.
That was an ass whooping.
Yeah, to put it mildly. And then we get to the fight. So finally we get it. It goes down. Pad, how did it all come about?
Yeah, so you had, of course, as we mentioned, you had Khabib defending his lightweight title against Justin Gaethje, who was the interim champion, although don't call him that.
No, he threw the belt down when he got the interim title.
Multiple times. But Khabib ended up defeating Gaethje in 1 minute and 34 seconds into the second round with a triangle choke submission.
That's right. I was right.
It's like, since we don't have a camera here, Coach was doing the Hulk Hogan here thing.
I got it right.
It's true.
Khabib, I knew was going to go out and put a performance on. This was his Brett Favre moment. A la when his father passed away.
Yep.
The next moment, the next game against Oakland goes on and just throws the ball all over the place.
4 touchdowns and a half, and whatever it was.
The craziest thing that I heard about this fight was, I mean, I'm going to be real. I was watching the Notre Dame game. Priorities for me is Notre Dame.
Yeah, we mentioned that in stream.
Yeah, playing Pitt. Did
we mention that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, a little chirp here and there, but Notre Dame put a shellacking on Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, so I was 2 for 2 that day. But anyway, I was watching that, but I heard DC talk about the fight, Daniel Cormier, and he said that after the fight he talked to Khabib, and apparently Khabib was going for the armbar, but had heard all week Gaethje was not going to tap out all week. I won't tap. So instead of going for the armbar, thinking that he was going to hurt Gaethje in front of his parents, he decided to go for the triangle choke because that way he wouldn't have to force him to tap out. He would just make him pass out, and then he would get up and be okay. to mention on top of that, that was Khabib's dad's favorite submission. To transition from an armbar to a triangle choke was his dad's favorite little 1-2, and he did that in honor of him. So when we talk about the greatest of all time in the UFC, and this is difficult to say as a Conor guy, I mean, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to transition from an armbar to go to a triangle choke, which is one of the hardest submissions in all of MMA. I mean, goddamn, I mean, that's kudos to him.
Well, to break this down too, the first round, Khabib did not seem like Khabib. Like
No.
I know you didn't see the fight.
Sure. Well, why didn't Khabib look like Khabib?
He looked frustrated.
Very frustrated.
More than anything. Gaethje, I know I said on the stream, I thought Gaethje was employing the tactic of running away of sorts, but not running away, oh shit, I'm scared. It looked running away in the I'm trying to tire you out, because Khabib was throwing a lot of punches. He was, moving a lot. He's pressing forward. And Gaethje's engaging with him, but he's, 1-2 punch, back off.
Well, I was hinting at Khabib's broken foot that he had too.
We didn't know about that until after the fight.
Right.
Yeah, that was just something we never knew about going into this. Khabib had been very quiet about anything previously to the fight. I mean, I know he's been doing the media circuit, and everybody's talking about him against GSP if he had win against Gaethje. But this was a very interesting round to see, because Gaethje was stuffing the takedowns and keeping Khabib off it. And you could see in Khabib's face, which I have not seen this in him before.
Yeah.
You could see the frustration that he couldn't get the takedown.
Sure. He was throwing some punches he wouldn't normally throw, and even punches that had no real substance to him. It's just he threw a punch.
He was like throwing like a weird overhand right that was like nowhere near hitting. And it was something that I think that once he figured out what Gaethje was doing, because Gaethje was trying to tire him out, which was a smart game plan.
Yeah.
Because he'd stick and move. Once Khabib could figure out when he could get him and try getting a takedown, then that's when he knew he could say, okay, I might be able to get him. Like, he definitely had that vibe to this. The second round, once he finally got the takedown, and he went for that arm quick, and then he flipped it to a triangle, it was a kind of an odd finish, because Gaethje was in the triangle, and he was standing up, and he was trying to do a slam. He had nothing on it because the choke was in so deep.
Right.
And then it looked like we thought he was trying to hit Khabib.
It's what it looked like.
But he was actually a tap.
It was tapping out.
And then he just went out cold. Like, he went limp. And we were like...
And Dog, I think, was the first person.
Dog was there, too.
He was the first person to point it out. He goes, it's over. I go, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because it looked like it looked like he's just hitting him in the back of the head, trying to hit him. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And then the ref's waving it off, and we're like, holy shit, it's over.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild to see.
He was night-night.
Yeah, he was night-night.
Well, he was night-night, and then so Khabib lets him go. He slumps over, and there was a real quick shot of you could see Gaethje's face, and it was just a blank stare. He wasn't out. He was out.
Yeah, like he was like just...
He was taking a nap.
Yeah, he was complete deep slumber. And to see Khabib then immediately broke down like Jordan did when he won the championship after his father passed. Just to see that emotion pour out of him.
Well, just because you know how closed and kind of closeted Khabib is as a person. He doesn't share a lot. He is not very vocal. He doesn't post on social media about what his family's doing and what he's about being at the beach someplace or what have you. So and I imagine just in prep for the fight, just because that's how he is as a person, he separated his home life and his personal life from his work life.
Yeah.
And it became all 100% work, so that he didn't have time from the time his father passed away due to complications from COVID-19 to now to really process everything.
Yeah.
That he, just the gravity and because he said in the post-fight speech that, when the UFC approached him about fighting Justin Gaethje, he didn't immediately say, yeah, I'll take the fight. He spoke with his mother for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his dad was his corner guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, talk about a guy who trained him, and was obviously every step of the way knowing the ins and outs. I mean, not similar to Jordan or Favre, but of that caliber of a relationship. I mean, it's his coach.
Yeah. No.
And
absolutely.
his father, father first, coach second. So you're talking about losing two important characters in your life when you talk about the fact that, your father is your coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the difficulties that is, fuck.
Yeah.
So obviously you saw the pouring of emotion. Like I said, the only thing I could compare it to is when Jordan won the championship right after his father passed.
Yeah.
And I mean, he broke
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they showed ESPN or Bleacher Report posted a side-by-side of the two of them on the ground. Exactly what it was.
And to see that he got up at the end and he gave the story about it. He spoke to his mother and said, I'm doing one more fight because I promised I was going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm done after that. He took his gloves off, left them in the ring, put over Justin Gaethje, and
and that's good business. Putting over, doing the Undertaker exit.
And I gotta pull it up. And I saw what Justin Gaethje said to him.
I call him. He's like, you fucking monster.
No,
but he meant it in a nice way. Like, he gave him the hug after.
I gotta look up Gaethje's put out what he said to Khabib in the fight. I gotta look. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, he gave him a big hug though, and that's where I said he called him. He's like, you fucking monster, and he was just like, he was so happy that this was a fight that was really a challenge, and for Khabib. After this, there was really nobody else left. So when he put the gloves in the ring and let them go, and obviously he's had a very touching retirement speech because he said, "I'm done after this." And for anybody that was trying to say he's going to come back, no, like, listen,
no, this dude is not that guy.
Yeah, exactly, he is not that guy.
This is the dude that his religion came first, and the UFC had to change their priorities in order to get him to fight. So if he says he's done, dude is done.
He's done. It's a wrap. And rightfully so, because this was the fight that, after this, there's only a couple that I realistically thought they could do.
Well, it was all money after that. There wasn't anybody in the division coming up. There wasn't, to see him move up, I don't necessarily know would have been the move either. Yeah. Because, his style lends to his weight class, which is what he's been his whole life.
Yeah.
So that would have been difficult to see. And, it would have been money. That would have been the move.
It definitely would have been. So, going off of that, the MMA world gave their
a fire.
Well, yeah,
it didn't take long.
Gave their thoughts about it. Obviously, a lot of high praise, and rightfully so for Khabib. But there was a couple tweets that stuck out that I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, one was by Conor McGregor.
Okay.
Now, Conor definitely had a lot of nice things to say, albeit though he did throw in the line, "I will carry on," which I was kind of like, now is not the time to really add yourself into this equation.
Well, I think obviously he sees the door open. And let's face it, could Conor have beaten Khabib, as a Conor guy? Probably not. Khabib's style did not lend itself to fit, Conor's weaknesses. And you saw that in the first fight. Now, obviously a puncher's always got a shot.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, if Khabib got him to the ground, Conor wasn't getting up, and that was already tried and true.
Just real quick, I found the quote from what Justin Gaethje told Khabib in the octagon. He said, quote, "I haven't had the chance to tell you, but I'm so sorry for your loss. You just made your father really proud." Close quote.
Nice.
Class act all around. Gaethje was.
So, the Conor comment, is now he sees, it's weird, but now he sees, there's a vacancy in this title that I can now lay claim to, because I think him and Gaethje, in the octagon would be a draw. Mm-hmm. I think him and Ferguson in the octagon would be a draw.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Pat, do you want to...
No, the Conor comment was weird. I fully expected him to say something, but just the whole "I will carry on" thing was like, carry on what? He whooped your ass, handedly, leaving no question as to whether there should be a second fight or not. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, it was kind of just a very puzzling comment, but that wasn't the big one that really kind of took me aback a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
John Jones,
decided
to get on social media and make the comment about how Khabib was not the GOAT, and I was really puzzling the timing of this. Which let me bring up to the panel about this.
Okay.
So John has a very long video post. I'm not sure if it's off his Instagram or whatever. ESPN MMA has been sharing it amongst other sites. And he is breaking down about his 15 world titles compared to Khabib's 4.
And then by that math, he must be counting every time he wins and retains his belt.
Yes. So with this whole argument, does John have a point?
No.
Of course he does. You can't say that he doesn't. The dude was, he cleared out the division before clearing out the division was a thing. He swept the entire light heavyweights and only had one, potential false step with Reyes. Mm-hmm. That was his hiccup, was Reyes. He has a right to lay claim to being the GOAT. I just think that, it's in MMA, it's like difficult to be like, all right, yeah, Khabib's the GOAT because he did it on a different level than John. Khabib was so dominant and so strong that he just implemented his will on you. Meanwhile, John does it in a way of, I'm going to dissect you, I'm going to expose you, and then I'm going to beat you. But as of late, John's fights haven't been the same. He hasn't been the same fighter. So I think both dominant, just on different levels.
Pat?
John's dominant, and John is one of the best fighters of all time. Let's, not get it twisted. But I don't think you can count title defenses, as, I'm a 15-time champion. No, slow your fucking roll. If we went by that math, Ric Flair would be about 102-time champion. So I don't think you can really, John was a dominant champion for a very long time, but Khabib has just been so far and above a more dominant fighter. 29-0, never lost a fight. Arguably only lost maybe one round in his entire professional MMA career, at least with the UFC. Never had any fights in doubt whether he would win or not once it came down to it. Whereas with John, there's been times where there's been some doubt. There's this might be it. This might be the one. Whereas with Khabib, it's always been, he's going to run through this dude.
It's a very good argument. I will say that because I can see both sides. I think that John has a very good claim.
Sure.
That I think that had it not been for his outside the cage
Bullshit.
issues.
Yeah, I mean, John did himself in.
Yeah, John did himself in a lot of cases too. Plus, if you look, I mean, he definitely won a lot by decision with most notably Reyes and Thiago Santos, and even that first Gustafsson fight. Evans is another one too. So it's not like it was the same way that Khabib got his undefeated streak.
Sure.
Khabib has mostly finished everybody he's faced. I don't have his fight card in front of me, Pat. I think you got it up.
I can pull it up.
So that being said, I mean, you can kind of go back and forth of when he won the title to how he defended it. But if you're going to base it off that, I mean, it's just a very tough argument to make.
That's why I said they both did it just on different levels.
Right. No, I agree with you. It's very tough. And the one issue I have with this is just the timing.
That's John's style.
That's John. I mean, listen, right after the Adesanya fight, what was the first thing he did?
Oh, yeah. He jumped in there and did it. And I thought it was like, okay, Adesanya is more of a rival. I think this one was maybe based more because Daniel Cormier is...
No, it was cattiness.
Yeah,
it was 1,000% petty.
Yeah, and just the fact, okay, you can throw a tweet out there, sure, I get you, and I understand that that's what you did, but on the same token, the next day is when the Instagram post came out, and you win that whole breakdown of like anybody that's saying Khabib's the GOAT, you need to back off, I'm the GOAT.
Well, I'd say the pound-for-pound rankings say otherwise.
Well, I think John commented on that today and said that this is the most rickety shit he's ever seen. I mean, here's the problem. If he stays silent, then this just kind of goes and gets swept under the rug, and then he brings it up a week later, and then everybody's like, what is this coming from? So if he was going to interact with this, it had to be now. It's just the timing of it. Yeah, it looks terrible because here we have a man who, literally left his gloves in the octagon,
poured his heart out.
Told this personal story of talking to his mom for 3 straight days, mulling over the whether the notion of fighting would be respectful to his father and his legacy. Goes into the octagon, puts in a performance of a lifetime on a broken foot, submits a dude in a way that was dedicated basically to his dad, and retires. And now, he's being talked of as the great. I mean, he's 30-0.
Yeah.
He's
29.
He's earned it. You can't say that he hasn't. So it's like, at the same time, it's like, John, shut the fuck up.
I wouldn't have minded John saying this if, like you said, it had been the next day or a couple of days later. The fact that it was within the next 30 minutes after the fight was over. I don't even think they were done with the post-fight stuff on the pay-per-view.
No, they weren't.
And he's already going... I'm the GOAT. Once I get the heavyweight,
don't forget my name.
Once I get the heavyweight championship belt, because that was one thing I saw he even cried foul about was, I'm just gonna ask if I can fight for the heavyweight championship belt, since that's apparently what you can do these days.
Well, yeah, because somebody else asked for a title fight and they got granted. Right? Is that what that was coming from?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the UFC...
The rankings don't mean shit.
Does a lot when it comes to fighting and calling out shots and such, and it is what it is. I think it was more so geared towards like who wanted to fight Kamaru Usman.
Oh, okay.
And how Gilbert Burns basically called the shot, and he was the only one that was willing to show up and do it. So that's how he got it granted originally, if memory serves me right. But I think it's just one of those situations where, for John, you vacated your belt you're in limbo right now.
Right.
You've talked about anybody that is close to being in your weight class per se, whether it's having Adesanya jump up to 205, whether it's fighting Blachowicz to get your belt back after you just vacated it, or to fight Stipe Miocic.
I think John's biggest thing is he just can't deal with people being talked about more or thought of better than he is.
Yeah, it's ego. It's
No,
all
he's
ego.
got a huge ego. Now, the only person I don't think he's ever done it with, because there's no way they'd ever fight each other, is Conor.
Right.
Nah, they chirped a little bit, though, too.
They've gone back and forth. But,
Yeah.
you know, John's never said ill about Conor, and Conor's never said ill about John. But you look at anybody else who was the big name at the time, you know, Cormier, Stipe, you know, Khabib, you know, you name it, he's gone after them, and because he just cannot deal with him not being the talker or the biggest dog in the kennel.
Yeah, no, it's weird to see, and especially for somebody on that level, to really step down and try stealing a moment away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not stepping down. That's just stepping laterally, because we've seen. I mean, listen, we've talked about this, and I'm going to say it now before it gets wild. We are not the hater, like that 607 hater group. Like, obviously we all support John and want nothing but success, because obviously he's from our hometown, and that's great that somebody was able to get up out of here and be as successful as he is. But at the same time, we all know his true character. Like, we all heard the stories. We all know the shit that he was doing around town. We all know it. So we know the true John. So when we saw John do all this stuff with the, God first, family first, all this, eat your vitamins, say your prayers. No, we knew that there was deep down the Hollywood Hulk Hogan behind him that was, the NWO black and white who was doing all the bad shit. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we've heard the alleged story.
Yeah, and I mean, it is what it is. You know, I mean, so it's just a step
Everybody has moments in their life, especially when they're young, where they make some boneheaded decisions. Christ knows I've made a few.
And
talk to my parents.
And nobody's perfect. So, but at the same time, though, what he did was just a lateral step. This is just John being John.
You learn, and you grow from it. And John hasn't grown from it.
Yeah, like I said, we've heard a lot of alleged stories. So
I mean, alleged stories around town. There's the shit in Arizona. I mean, there's that stuff too. We hear this shit here, and it's all this might be true or that might not be true, but the shit in Arizona was public.
Right, but saying the public stuff.
Right.
About, but I want to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not listen, I did my fair share of shit too that's going to get me in trouble someday. I'm just saying, I got daughters because of it, karma, I mean, so I get it. But at the same time, it's like John, just bite the bullet. Let's let Khabib have his moment. And now let's get back to business.
Well, all right. What I'm saying is, if you're allegedly the GOAT, to step down to address people to say you're not the GOAT, I think is a very step down in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm just trying to stress with that.
Yeah.
But where I think that he's better off doing is, okay, plan your next fight, and then if you really want to start bringing up the GOAT conversation,
how about you nut up or shut up and actually fucking fight?
Exactly.
That too.
You can add as many goddamn characters, and I don't know how many tweets you can string together in a thread, but you can do it till your thumbs break off. I don't give a fuck what you say. Show the fuck up and fight.
That's
exactly
really. That boils this down.
Well, you take it away. When was his last fight?
And his last fight was in February.
Right. So if you last fought in February, he has no fight lined up because he wasn't sure if he's going to light heavyweight or whatever the case is.
And get a fucking knockout. I realize he technically knocked out Alexander Gustafsson back in December of 2018. But before that, his last knockout was Chael Sonnen in 2013.
Yeah.
I mean,
fucking knock somebody out. Don't do this lay and pray fucking wrestling bullshit. You want to be dominant? Go knock somebody the fuck out.
I mean, I'm not worried so much about that performance aspect of it, because as long as you win, you win.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. If it's a split decision and an ugly decision such as the Reyes fight, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But when he's going in and literally dissecting people, and I think the Rashad Evans fight literally is the antithesis of that, as a guy he took 5 rounds and was literally just doing it to toy with him.
Yeah.
So I think there's that aspect of it, but at the same time, it's you haven't fought in a year now, almost. Going on it, and your last fight wasn't a great performance, and here you are calling out a guy who literally just put on arguably one of the best performances probably in the Octagon we'll ever see, one of the most storied careers the Octagon will ever see, and you don't have anything in front of you.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great performance, and let's not forget the one before it, Thiago Santos, was a split decision win.
Exactly. So to say that you're running away with everything and worried about the GOAT conversation, look, MMA fans will have the GOAT conversation to the end of time.
But that's true for any sport.
I mean, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's football, it's everything's all the same. You know, everybody will have their different opinions on what they think defines a GOAT.
I mean, and especially like we mentioned with John's last few fights, Anthony Smith came back and he won that fight. Gustafsson, he knocked out. Cormier was a no contest that was overturned. Fought Ovince St. Preux in 2016. I think that was his first fight back in a while. You know, where he looked rusty. So you got to argue his last couple fights haven't looked all that GOAT-like.
Exactly. I think that he should be more focused on what his future fight plans are going to be than trying to step in there and take away Khabib's spotlight. Because now, I mean, the conversation is out there now since he threw it there. I mean, who is the GOAT of MMA? I mean, let me throw it around the panel.
For me, it's by weight class. I don't have one. I go by whoever, who's the best. So John, to me, is the greatest light heavyweight of all time, and Khabib's the greatest lightweight of all time,
Anderson Silva, just that entire 10-decade run where it got to the point that some people wanted that man to lose badly.
Yeah.
Obviously in octagon methods. But just to see that man lose and just as dominant as he was for a decade.
And especially to see his last fight is coming up this Saturday against Uriah Hall, too.
Yeah, but for me, it's got to be Anderson Silva.
For me, it's a tough call.
Sure.
Because I agree with, I kind of side a little more with Coach about that, about who is because of the weight class. You take a look at, when Fedor was over in Pride. And obviously, we never saw him over here in the UFC because, reasons. But then you also have to think about, okay, George St. Pierre, where does he rank in here?
Oh, yeah.
You have to say Anderson Silva is in that conversation. And you have to say Khabib is there, too, and so is John.
I mean, BJ Penn had an illustrious storied
career. Yeah, he had a run there, too.
Know?
I mean, there's a lot of fighters you can throw in that GOAT conversation. And I guess if I have to really focus on somebody, I guess I would say Anderson Silva, too.
Oh?
I would say this, because what Silva was able to do during that run, nobody was near him. The only thing I would ever argue is a blemish on that is they were talking that super fight with him and GSP for God knows how long, and they could never pull it off.
The thing for me with the Anderson Silva run he was on was in the 17 fights he fought in that between losses, he got taken the distance twice.
Yeah, and the two times he was screwing around too. Damian Maia
was one.
That was brutal.
And then Thales Ledes, UFC
UFC
97.
But that one was because Ledes dropped on his, if I'm not mistaken, he dropped on his back and tried having Silva jump in his guard.
Right, he tried, he laid down on his back the whole time.
Yeah, and Silva was like, get up, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, so that's the only two times in that run Silva had that he was ever taking the distance.
Yeah, but I mean, so that, you look for that, but then you also have to have the longevity, which John has on his side, and who's and Khabib has on his side. So it's just like it's so tough,
It's a tough call to make. No, I mean there is no real right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of what you're looking for. It's
personal choice, yeah.
Yeah, I mean if you want to talk about title defenses, I mean John has to be in that equation. If you want to talk about streaks and records, well, Khabib is definitely in that. I mean, it all depends on how you want to break it down schematically. So. For John to get all wound up about this, I was just like, this is so petty and this is catty.
I think it's a guy who right now knows that his career's in limbo. Yeah. And he's, looking at a time frame right now where he's on the other side of 30 and Father Time's going to be pressing up against him, and he probably feels like he might have a run or two left in him before, he ends up either being forced out or, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz style, I mean, I think that's a very real thing for John right now.
It's a very tough call to make. So to quickly wrap this segment up, though, now the lightweight title has been vacated.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What do you think it should be the fight or fights to crown a new champion?
Tournament.
I agree.
I am all for fucking tournaments.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult to do because, the UFC loves to have the continuity with belts, by the fact that they named Gaethje an interim title just because Khabib was on suspension just for one fight. That's all Gaethje had the title for, right? Yeah. It was one fight. Like, what's the point? So I would love a tournament. I don't think it'll happen, but I would love it.
Because I know it's been heavily rumored, and I want to stress rumored, that when Conor McGregor fights Dustin Poirier, that's going to be for the belt. It has not been made official. That's been rumored that is going to be the
Got
case.
a little chubby in the old pants region there. I got a little excited, Ken. Simmer down.
Yeah, so nothing has been set in stone yet, but I believe it's Michael Chandler who's recently signed for the UFC threw out the tournament idea.
I don't think that having that fight be the title fight is any way, shape, or form fair.
No, it's not.
I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you.
I told my wife and I talked about it last night, and I said that I think they should just put the strap back on Gaethje.
They could, but I think
last guy to win the belt.
But I don't think he would take it.
No, I don't think he would.
Because knowing him, I think he would say, "All right, fine, put me back in the tournament too." And in fact, this is how I break this down.
Okay.
I think that you have Ferguson face Michael Chandler.
Okay.
I think you have that fight. I think you have Gaethje fight Dustin Poirier. I think Conor is going to stay up at 170. I think that's where he's more comfortable at.
I don't think so.
But I think that if you want to take him out of the equation, then that's a fight you could set up. I know Nate Diaz is offered. He wants to get in on the action, too, for the lightweight title. So you definitely have a lot of fights to make.
That's a cut.
Yeah. Well, he does fluctuate between 170 and 155.
Right. But normally he walks heavy, doesn't he?
Like 185.
Yeah.
190. I mean, it is a cut, but he's made it before. So.
Yeah.
That all being said, I mean, this is kind of up in the air, but I think a tournament would make the most sense.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. I mean, you just have simple. You have you pick 4 fighters, 2 of them fight 2 fights one night.
One night, yep.
And then the next fight, when they're all cleared, you book the winner.
Right.
I think that makes the most sense.
Hell, I would even book the loser.
The losers could fight
get the number one. Then the losers get the next title fight.
Yeah, because
I mean that opens the door for all right. If you said what Gaethje and Poirier. So all right, yep. Gaethje wins, Poirier loses, Poirier fights
the loser of Ferguson and Chandler.
Ferguson loses. Now you got you got Poirier Ferguson, and then all of a sudden Ferguson wins. Boom! Now you got Gaethje Ferguson. Round 2 for the belt again, or you got Poirier versus Gaethje again. I mean, it books itself. That's why I'm wrestling. Tournaments are good. It books itself.
Yeah. So no official word has been said yet. But obviously, looking at the legacy Khabib is leaving behind, the UFC is going to have to figure out something, and it'll be interesting to see who's going to be the king of the lightweights moving forward. That all being said, we're going to take a quick break, but hit us up on those social media accounts and let us know what you thought of UFC 254. Where does Khabib rank now in the GOAT conversation? Who is your GOAT in MMA? And all that and so much more. So hit us up at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Seattle, a local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shake radio attack, taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Time to round those bases, Pad.
Got to talk a little bit of baseball first, a little bit of rumors. Something going on. Yeah, we're talking rumors. A little bit of baseball. Postseason hasn't started yet, but the hot stove, you're getting it lit. It's almost going to start. Patrick Creighton, who is a radio host on ESPN 97.5 down in Houston, it said on Twitter yesterday that, quote, "Bad Astros rumors. Hearing George Springer does not want to return to the Astros. Owner had said before season re-signing him was top priority, but nothing ever materialized. Would be huge loss for Houston. Top offensive bat / strong defender at premium position. Best free agent bat in my opinion." Close quote. And I have to agree with him. That would be a massive loss for the Houston Asterisks. George Springer has been huge for them. But I can understand him wanting to get out under that shadow of being a cheater. But hey, you can change, but spots will never leave.
Facts.
Switching over to the World Series because hot damn, this has been a real good World Series. We are currently sitting at Game 6 is tonight as we record, 8:08 p.m. Eastern on Fox, with Dodgers leading the series 3-2. Although, holy shit, Game 4.
Game 4 was the wildest ending I think I've seen.
My Lord.
That was straight up Buffalo Wild Wings.
That was Buffalo Wild Wings. And to the people saying, it was worse than Bill Buckner with the Red Sox in the World Series against the Mets. No.
Stop.
Because that's something that first basemen practice from they're a child. And even more so in the majors from spring training all the way through the year. So that is the most routine play in baseball.
Do you want to walk them through the play?
So it's bottom of the ninth. I believe bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
Bottom of the ninth. The Rays are down 7-6 with runners on. I don't remember, but base hit into center field, and the center fielder goes to get the ball, and just error of errors. It flies out of his glove.
Mm-hmm.
So another guy gets it, throws it in to, I want to say it was the second baseman or the shortstop. I forget, because defenders, in case you don't know, move around on the baseball field while the play's in action because they got to back up certain people or they got to go to a certain position, much like football.
Yeah.
So gets into the relay guy. The relay player throws it to home plate, and then I honestly can't see the ball leave, but ball misses the catcher. Catcher goes spinning around like, oh shit, ball's not behind me. At this point, the pitcher should have been behind home plate, but because he didn't give a fuck, he was off dilly-dallying, hanging out on his own on the third baseline, which let the runner who was on third base at that point, because he'd run from second or first, I believe, at that point.
Yeah.
Stumbled coming down the third baseline, mind you. Get back up, run home, and score. Ball game over. Tampa Bay wins.
It was the most wild ending I've ever seen.
I left my house to drive my girlfriend home because we were hanging out together that night. And it was tied 7-7 or no, they were down 7-6. So I was like, oh, okay. Got home from dropping her off at home, and the Rays had won the game. And I'm like, all right, I got to see how this ended. And then I saw the highlight, and I went, holy shit, what did I just see?
Yeah, it was absolutely a crazy ending. The series has been fun to watch,
Yeah.
I will say that. So tonight, any early picks, Pat?
I know the Rays are going with Blake Snell, and the Dodgers are not going with Buehler. If they were going with Buehler on short rest, I think it'd be game over. Dodgers win, but they're not. So I think it's with Blake Snell. Add a little added motivation, keep the series going. I think the Rays are going to be able to pull it out and force the best two words in sports: Game 7.
Coach, any feelings?
Baseball.
Fair enough. I'm going to say if the Dodgers have any chance to win this series, they got to pull it off tonight. If they go Game 7, I do not like Kershaw on any kind of day's rest this short.
No, so. And I know Dodgers fans are real pissed off at their manager there, that I've even seen some online say, even if we want to win a World Series, I want that man fired.
Yeah, Dave Roberts is not exactly winning over the Dodger faithful right now.
No, and they're a real angry fan base at times.
So definitely something to watch. We'll definitely be recapping it on next week's ODPH Sports Edition. Coach!
Basketball.
Hey.
The NBA rumors tentatively scheduling a 72-game season that, ladies and gentlemen, might start possibly around Christmas. Yeah, so we're getting possible Christmas Day games, which was my biggest contention. I was very concerned that Christmas Day games weren't going to be around, which would have made me very sad. Although I love my family and I enjoy my children opening their presents, I also enjoy watching me some basketball. So hopefully that can work out. I know that's tough schedule-wise. I know they've talked about maybe doing host cities or potentially doing, traveling. I read a rumor that Toronto might be looking to play in Louisville at the Pepsi Center.
So there's still travel restrictions up in Canada.
Yep. So they might have to play in Louisville for this upcoming season, whether they're allowing fans or not, I don't know. But we're also about 4 weeks away from the draft. So that's also right around the corner, too.
Yeah.
We have to work out the Twitch stream for that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, I'll have to figure out something because I'll definitely be, a bucket of emotions depending on whatever the Knicks do at 8. I mean, it all just depends on who's there.
Which reminds me, I did get a notification on something Knicks related, but I got to pull it up.
Yeah, they're willing to take on bad contracts.
Yeah. Ian Begley is saying the Knicks are open to using their 2020 cap space to trade for an undesirable contract.
Yep. So Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, yep, here they come. One of the two.
Draft night is going to be so much fun.
No, it's not. It's going to be more dread, more pain, more suffering.
So that's why you should be subscribed to.
Dude, oh God, if they Chris Paul would be all right because he can take a bunch of jamokes and lead them to the playoffs.
Sure.
Like, I'd be cool with that. But and I don't want to, hate on the Brody because, he doesn't like that. But I do not want to see Russell Westbrook in a Knicks uniform.
No.
I am sorry. It's just that will not bode well for that young team. I'm afraid of what he'll do to RJ Barrett's growth and potential. I think Chris Paul would be tremendous.
Good teacher.
Mentorship for RJ.
Yeah.
I think that would be, amazing. But then I've seen the rumors that the Lakers are in the mix for Chris Paul. I've seen the Lakers in the mix for Derrick Rose. So a lot of off-season rumors already coming, which is nice. But
allegedly the Washington Generals are in the mix for Chris Paul.
That Knicks and the contract thing I saw, and it made me very, very queasy. Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. You definitely, if you're not following twitch.tv/67podcast already, this is a reason to follow, subscribe. Definitely keep your eyes locked to it that night.
You have no idea. I had to yell at. You know what though? It's kind of funny. Is I had to yell at my wife during that Giants game because she picked the Eagles, and when the Giants scored, she got upset, and I was like, "Listen, you're gonna wake the kids up." She goes, you scream, and I go, "Yeah, but when I scream, I do it under control. Like I've got a way of screaming that doesn't wake up the kids, so when Notre Dame plays night games, I get, but I don't wake them up. She's got to learn that. It was brutal. My son woke up, Mom, what's going on? Sure, Mom's getting upset about the football game, kid. Go back to bed.
Should have heard me during the Penn State Indiana game. Fucking Christ.
What a touchdown that was.
When
you posted that, I so badly. So if anybody didn't, Pad posted something about the Penn State, the Indiana screw job.
The Indiana screw job.
And I wanted to comment and say Penn State screwed Penn State. Brett screwed Brett, but I was like, it's too soon, and I didn't want to.
Fun fact, Montreal Screwjob's on my birthday.
Hey, all right. Speaking of, segue.
Bam, look at the kid go.
Yeah.
Pat, what are we going to talk about now? You're going to take my base here, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's WWE Hell in a Cell took place this past Sunday from the Amway Center or the Thunderdome. I realize I don't have a button set up like Rich does over for 3FN, but it did take place. Some of the matches that took place, R-Truth defeated Drew Gulak on the pre-show for the 24/7 title because apparently that belt can be defended in a regular match. Who knew? And how much did this surprise everybody here? They opened with Roman versus Jey Uso for the Universal Championship.
I was shocked at this. I thought this was going to close the show.
Yeah, I was
shocked, but I'm glad they opened with it because holy shit, that would have been a really bad way to end the show.
I got a
bit of a downer.
I got a notification that said Roman Jey Uso kicking off because I was watching Sunday Night Football and I was like, whoa,
yeah,
kicking off.
Yeah, no, it was definitely surprising. I was like, oh, we'll see where this goes, but I'm kind of glad they opened with it just because. Again, storytelling. I know. I typed it on the watch party for whatever pay-per-view was last for the 607 podcast Twitch stream. Their last matchup with Roman and Uso made me real uncomfortable. The storytelling made me real uncomfortable. This one even more so.
Yeah, the Clash of Champions one was brutal. This one was even worse.
Yeah, but I'm glad they opened with it.
How good though?
Oh, so damn good.
Storytelling's overrated, guys. It's all about the moves, man. Yeah. It's all about the super kicks and the flips.
If there has anything, the pandemic wrestling, I guess you can say, and what I mean by that is wrestling with a virtual crowd and virtual sound pumped in. Because let's face it, they ain't going to worry about crowd reaction and getting people over or not. They can just pump in whatever sound they want. If there's anything that pandemic wrestling has taught us and kind of reinforced, you need good storytelling.
Ring psychology is so overrated. Give me a spinning back elbow that lands on somebody's jaw. That's the finisher I'm here for.
Oh, yeah.
Only on Wednesday nights, though, on TNT.
Yeah.
But this match delivered on all accounts. The creative finish this, too, where Roman forced Jimmy Uso to he put him in the submission, so he forced Jey to save his own brother to say I quit.
Yep.
Hey, that's 101, man. I mean, that type of rivalry and heatedness, where you have a brother that you can play the emotions off of is tremendous.
Yeah.
Because he can really add fuel to the heel that is Roman Reigns with the brutality.
Yep.
And watching your brother, your family get wrecked by somebody who you thought you could love.
And even the one moment where they were there, like, and they were like, "Listen, whatever's going on with you, we can fix this."
Yeah.
Like they were using real names.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, we can fix this. We're family. We can sit this down. This isn't you. And just like Roman sitting down and almost breaking down. And I'm like, I realize this is a work, but holy fucking shit.
Hi, Cole.
To
Breaking fourth wall.
Yeah. To those,
yeah. I mean,
to those who say Roman can't really wrestle and sell anything, Exhibit A.
Well, I mean, him and Daniel Bryan were great when they had that quick string together.
Yeah.
But I think that this is great for the Roman character. It adds a layer. I love that Jey Uso is really getting his opportunity to dive into things. And the biggest thing is I love the fact that now this is going to lead to Big E winning the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
And having this underdog story to win the title at Mania. Because that is going to be, if there's fans in there, my God, the pop that will be. If they can keep Big E hot and really, because I mean, we're looking at Survivor Series, so we're 3 months away.
Yep.
So they've got to be able to keep him at bay and not have him interact with Roman for a while. And if they do have him interact with Roman, maybe have it be a tough loss where Big E's down on his luck or some bullshit like that, and then all of a sudden comes back, wins the Royal Rumble, then maybe Roman takes him lightly, and then Big E catches him.
Sure.
Maybe that can be the story that's told. But like, they got to keep him away, and they got to let him fodder, and that will be difficult for them to do because they're going to probably try and jump on it too soon, and it's going to ruin Big E.
Yeah, no, but outside of the Bray, Alexa, what the hell was going on between them? The whole Roman story is probably the most invested I'm in a story because especially end of the match, Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans.
Yeah.
Wild Samoans come out, which I'm like, holy shit, they put the lei, distinguishing that he's a tribal leader and this and that. Like, we're going places with this, and I am here.
Yeah, this is an incredible storytelling.
Or if this leads to a Rock match that they've always wanted.
I've seen people saying if and I realize that the insurance is an issue, but I saw somebody online say if with bringing in Afa and Sika in a freaking pandemic in for this, if you're not leading up to a Rock versus Roman match, what the fuck are we even doing here?
The only thing I would question is, are they going to be in front of a live crowd for Mania? Because I just don't see The Rock doing this in an empty Thunderdome.
No.
Listen, if Rock ain't willing to come back, and this is Brock Lesnar, Roman ain't gonna, or Rock ain't gonna be willing to do it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing I worry with this, that they're trying to hedge their bets a little too much.
Well, that's why I think they're keeping Big E in the back pocket.
Right.
I think I think the game plan is Rock.
Yeah.
Because you don't lean so heavy on the Samoan story without having
you don't bring up family head of the table
and I get that, but it's like I understand you want to plant that seed early, but I just fear that obviously we don't know when we're going to get back to kind of some sense of normalcy for those kind of crowds, and especially for Mania size. Like I say, I hope they're not hedging their bets too much. Like, that's the only thing I can understand. Plant that Easter egg for down the road, sure. But I think as of right now, it's a gutsy call to make.
You got to be planning something big because I had to look it up. I don't know their ages offhand. Afa's turned 78 in November.
Yeah.
And then Sika turned to 75 in April. You don't bring out people of that age, especially given the pandemic and everything going on, for just a cup of coffee and a quick 30-second moment.
Yeah, and I mean, there is no other of the family tree who's in WWE right now that could push the needle for this story other than
fully agree.
The Rock.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense to do it. That's why I said I just hope they're not gonna try. What's that?
I just thought of something. Well, I've read a rumor the other day that I guess they're planning on having Roman lead some sort of faction, and that supposedly the Usos will be part of it because they're now going to be like indentured to him because of having lost in the I Quit match and then the one prior.
Right.
What if the way to bring Rock out is if he brings his daughter in? Because his daughter is training with WWE. What if he brings his daughter over to the dark side, so to speak? And Rock ain't happy because Rock, he had that heel run, but for the last however many years, he's been the good guy, been the do-gooder, Superman.
Yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of thought.
What if they because they've clearly shown they're not afraid to bring in a kid of a famous wrestler, Dominic Mysterio, and immediately put him in on the main roster. I forget her name. She's been training.
Simone,
yeah. Simone's been training down at the Performance Center for at least a year, if not two now.
Ooh, if we're fantasy booking, can I get one real quick?
Sure.
What if they bring in the Guerrillas of War? God. What if they bring in Tama Tonga?
Don't toy with me like that.
How? I mean, I know they're not Samoan and stuff, but I mean, how sexy would that be? I mean,
That'd be good.
The Fatu, the story, all that's there.
Yeah.
The Barbarian,
Tama-Tonga.
that'd be a ton of fun. Could you
On
imagine
Mike.
a heel faction Roman Reigns led group with them as his heaters?
Yo.
Even though he don't even need heaters?
Yo.
Man, that'd be a lot of fun.
But I'm just saying, if you want to bring Rock out for that's how you. I think
Dude,
that's how you
the
do it.
Rock and Tama having promos
Yeah.
against each other.
Sign me up.
Oh, so much fun. So much fun.
There's
Never
the-
going to happen, but
they-
so
they-
much fun.
Never say never.
They'd have
Yeah.
to lose the PG rating.
Whoa. Shit.
Yeah, we
I mean-
we could bring back Raw Underground for this, and then really test
Dude,
behind
that
the paywall.
that would be so much fun.
Oh, sign me up. Give me the Gorillas of Destiny anytime.
Oh man.
Tama Tonga on a live mic.
Yep.
That would be so much. I would dive headfirst into that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah. All right. To the rest of the card. Now you got me.
to get all bummed out for the rest of the card.
Yeah, because I saw what was next.
Yep. You had Elias defeat Jeff Hardy via DQ. Who cares?
Cool.
Yeah.
The Miz defeated Otis to win, or I guess take control of the Money in the Bank
Yeah,
briefcase.
they've been doing this weird story angle where the Miz didn't think Otis was deserving of it. They had a fake court case with
Yeah.
JBL as the judge, and
Which it should have been Undertaker.
yeah, it would make a lot more sense.
Little fourth wall.
that'll
Yeah, and then Tucker turned on Otis, and
Yep.
he's playing the role of Marty Jannetty in this one.
Yeah.
So, but here's the other thing, though. Another tag team breaking down.
Yeah, this
with
is
another with already depleted. With you just split the New Day. You just move
Yep.
the Profits over.
Yep.
the Iconics are done.
Iconics are done. So like,
If I'm a tag team in NXT, I'm doing everything to go up to stop from going up to main roster.
yeah, because you're just gonna get split. Because it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. I understand they really want to push Otis and see what they can get out of him. And granted, he's entertaining as all hell.
Oh, yeah.
So this can kind of set up some feud for him. Then let's see what happens. But
Yeah, but he's not Big E.
no, I agree with you. Yeah,
Here's
he's
the
not.
thing I don't get with the heel turn. They're on separate fucking shows.
Well, because they were going to build it up. They're going to toy with it till like you get that moment in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
where they're facing
exactly,
off
yep.
each other, and then it'll be the Mania match.
All of a sudden, Otis is going to turn around. There's going to be Tucker, and Tucker will probably eliminate himself instead of having to face him. And then, you're going to get your Mania match.
Yeah, it'll write itself. But
That will be the kickoff show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was actually a pretty good match, though, I will
Yeah,
say. So
yeah.
The Miz is now your new Money in the Bank holder. So
Yep.
I'm all here for that.
Yep.
I mean, tough though, because obviously, as we'll get to it, it's a little top heavy right now.
Yeah, it's very crowded for that world title picture.
Yep. Up next, you had the SmackDown Women's Championship match where Sasha Banks defeated Bayley by submission to become your new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Possible match of the year.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these two don't put on bad performances together.
I'll say they
This was
did
so good.
They did everything they could to top some of their NXT matches, and god damn it, I think they did.
What was Sasha's "I'm a la Eddie Guerrero, willing to kill myself in this ring right now to tell a story" moment? Mm-hmm. Because I know there was probably one of those.
She did a bunch of meteoras, her knee strike.
Yeah.
And she did one where she ran off a table
yeah.
onto Bayley. Like it was.
It's literally Tax's death and Sasha trying to kill herself in the ring to tell a story. And those three things are guarantees.
They were hitting all types of crazy moves. Like I said, Sasha, kept throwing different ways to do meteoras.
Yeah.
And she looked. I mean, they both looked amazing.
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
This had everything you wanted. The fake finishes. They were going all out with using kendo sticks. Like they even had one. They were trying to set it up, and Sasha caught it in the throat, a la Ricky Steamboat.
Okay.
And Savage at WrestleMania.
The steel
3.
chair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like right in the throat because it was selling the storyline that she injured her throat.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see the creativity that
I mean, listen, those two make magic together. And obviously Sasha is willing to go there to get something over. So you knew this was going to deliver.
Yep.
Yeah, no, this was a 5-star match. Like if you want to even use the
5-star in Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
3-star in the Thunderdome.
Yeah. If you want to say this was 7 minivans, if you're going to say the minivan match was still a 5-star match.
Sorry, still 3 stars because it was Thunderdome.
No.
Sorry.
You're being
egregious.
You're being too egregious about this.
Sorry.
Being too salty about this.
Being factual.
But this one is definitely, if you're going to watch one match from this card, I highly, highly, highly recommend this one.
Yep.
Then we have one that
3 minutes and 46 seconds.
Yeah, which I have to give a shout out to Cage Side Seats.
Okay.
The article
match of the year, yeah.
They did for this is freaking fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah, you have to read it because once you read their play-by-play, it is fantastic. But this one, though, Bobby Lashley defeats Slapjack, formerly known as Shane Thorne.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, the Retribution lost another match?
Yep.
No.
They can't even win 50-50 booking.
Yeah. In the words of DJ Khaled, another one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this one, 3 minutes of just a squash fest. And yeah, enough said.
I'll say it was a piss break for those who needed a piss break between the almost half-hour long match that was Sasha and Bayley and then the half-hour long match that was our main event.
Yeah. But our main event, though, did deliver. It was a good main event.
Yeah.
Obviously, though, it didn't top Sasha and Bayley.
No.
But this one, though, Pad?
Yeah, it was for the WWE Championship, which Randy Orton defeated Drew McIntyre to become your new WWE Champion. This is now his 14th, I believe, WWE Championship, which ties him for, second all-time?
Second all-time.
Tied with Triple H.
Tied with Triple H.
And only 2 behind John Cena and Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've said it, and I'll probably try not to say it, but I'm going to end up doing it anyway. It's been a tough time for Drew. An unfair time, to say the least. And, obviously, it's kind of clear that the storytelling is going with, Randy leading the title onwards and upwards to WrestleMania to face Edge.
Yeah, I mean, in turbulent times, you lean on what you know most or who you know best. And in this case, it's Randy. Randy's been there. He's tried, tested, and true. You know what you're going to get out of him. You know he's a person you can lean on to have some good matches and really carry a story and put on some good stuff. So when times are as uncertain as they are, you lean on the old hands.
Yeah, you definitely understand why they were doing this. And I think the Drew is still going to be around the title picture, so it's not like he's going away. Yeah. You still have the Miz now involved with the Money in the Bank.
I thought he was going to cash in this match.
Oh, it made
I thought
of
so, because especially there was that one point where who was it? Was it Randy that cut the lock off the cage, or was it Drew?
It was Drew.
So that Drew cut the lock off of the cage, and then and then he got brought back in, but the cage was still open on the lock. I'm like, oh, is Miz going to come out and use that open door?
Yeah, I mean, now I'm like we hinted at before. Top of the card is real heavy.
Yeah,
Miz having the Money in the Bank obviously looming over them. Randy as the champion, Drew as the champion former champion, Keith Lee still hanging around, and now Bray is in the mix.
Yep.
So real tough.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Raw balances this out and plays it forward, because Hell in a Cell was a great pay-per-view. It might have been their best one of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I almost wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of kangaroo court, if you will, and the Miz just starts defending the Money in the Bank.
Well, you kind of almost want to see that at this point.
Exactly. Because I don't necessarily think he is the one to hold it. Because I don't believe him winning it against Randy at any point. And I mean, he's got to cash it in by February.
Now, does it reset though? That's
I mean, that's been the tried and true tradition.
Yeah, I mean,
you got 1 year to use it.
I could see him cashing in at Rumble.
Yeah,
like he does some.
Yeah, but I don't see him winning it though, because if they are going with the way that the rumors have been reported, which is Edge, Randy Orton, world title match, WrestleMania, how do you have Miz cash in and win? And I definitely don't see they would not have Miz cash in and lose.
No. It's a slippery slope to walk.
Yeah.
So like I say, I don't know unless they decide they don't want to go with Edge and Orton for the belt. That's the only thing I could see them saying is like that, because that match is locked and loaded. That's going to happen at some point. I just don't know if it's going to be for the belt or not. So if they didn't want to do it for the belt, I could see him trying to sneak in there and make something happen. But
I just think it's tough because I mean, given the current climate, Thunderdome, Mania, you'd almost want to, have, so let's just say Miz cashes in at Rumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you, Miz, Bray? Miz.
If it's Miz, Bray, how absolutely hysterical would it be to have Bray use his powers to turn Miz back into the real world Miz?
Oh my God.
And go that awful Miz TV.
Bring in Maurice for some backstage segments. Just being like, what's wrong with you?
It makes it tough because it's like, where do you or do you go Miz, Drew,
Miz AJ,
Miz a heel, AJ the face with the heater? That's weird. So you almost feel like the Edge Randy Orton thing is just like we said, tried and true. It will carry you to Mania. Randy will be able to get the title there in one piece, and he'll be able to put on a great match with Edge. And then you can save the Royal Rumble winner for SmackDown, which desperately would need that.
No, I agree. I mean, they got so many questions now to answer, which, I mean, that's the thing about a pay-per-view that actually delivers. You actually have some misdirection that'll keep us as the fans engaged. So Hell in a Cell definitely pulled that off. So
Miz winning it definitely led the kerfuffle to me, because I was like, what do you do from here?
Yeah.
Because with Otis having it, I was like, either he's going to cash it in the tag team like we had thought, or he would lose it. And it would just be, okay, he lost. No big deal.
Yeah, see, I thought he was going to try doing it to get back to the brand with Tucker and Mandy.
Right.
Like, it was just one shot to get there, and if he failed, he was never going to see him again.
Something like that, stuck in limbo,
It would have made sense, but, I mean, it's WWE, so this is why we keep watching every week to see what they're going to wind up doing.
Or we watch football.
Yes.
This is true.
Well, on Sunday nights we do.
Or, baseball for, those who want to watch that.
Yes. Or the other brands. Impact had a decent pay-per-view this weekend.
Hey, yeah, good. Let's give them, good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had actually a decent pay-per-view weekend.
Yeah.
I know ROH is starting up the Pure title. The championship is coming back. So I know that action's been going on. And obviously AEW's got a pay-per-view coming up, Full Gear.
Yeah,
so,
which they've got, singing song-alongs on, main TV.
Hashtag hokey shit.
That's not hokey. That's real wrestling.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's the purity of the sport.
Yes. So I don't even think we want to get into that mess.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say that was a 5-star performance. Top notch.
Yes.
That's real wrestling, guys. Sing-alongs on a dancing floor with a cappella singing group behind you. That's wrestling. Not hokey. Wrestling.
Well, we touched upon this before, and I know we even deep dived into it a little further on hashtag 67TWS. Yeah, for a company that claims that they don't want to do anything hokey, this was definition. So,
yeah.
So it's like, who are you talking to, and who are you trying to give that Kool-Aid to? Because,
hey,
I mean,
that was great singing, okay?
I mean, it was what it was. It was entertaining, but for your company mission, which is we're the new alternative, where was it? That wasn't.
Sure.
If WWE did that, AEW fans would be losing their mind.
Oh, my God. They would be flipping shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
If you had Bray and Braun doing that segment.
Yeah. If they did any semblance of like some sort of sing-along, even if it was in the Firefly Funhouse, where it was like, disbelief can be suspended, people would still be like, Bray just sang a song? Ugh. That is so dumb, even if it was in the Firefly Funhouse.
Yeah.
I want more super kicks.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I say,
hey, you know what I also love? All the, for the quote-unquote safe style that they work, really weird to see so many guys get injured the past 2 weeks on AEW. Just going to say that.
Yeah.
Throw that out there.
No, they've been actually very, very reckless.
Uncle Dave, safe style, huh? Why is everybody hurt?
Yeah, especially what happened to one member of Dark Order where he got hurt and
was out fucking cold. Let's talk about that real quick, huh? Guy gets knocked out in the middle of the ring. What do? Drag him to the side. Does the referee even check on him? Nope. Where was that, Uncle Dave?
Yeah.
Crickets.
It was just a messy situation with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. And it's the second time they've had a big incident like that since the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara.
Debacle.
Yeah. So AEW's got to step up and fix that because, I mean, me watching at home, I mean, I got real issues with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And listen, as much shit as we can give WWE for all the other shit that they're doing, they're at least trying right now to keep people safe, all with the climate and current climate and all that bullshit. But that, I mean, in the ring, you got a guy unconscious and the referee doesn't even go to talk to him?
Yeah.
Dude.
It was bad all around. And I don't think there's anything you can say otherwise. No, so they got a lot
But they got a pay-per-view coming up, guys, so every match will be top shelf. Don't worry about it.
It's actually not
water under the bridge.
It's not looking like a bad pay-per-view, but
hey,
I agree with you.
Ken, stop. Pick a lane, Carson Wentz. All right? Are you either for or against? All right?
I'm for good wrestling.
Oh, okay. You're one of those people.
Yeah.
We can have two brands that exist in the same universe.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's why I also talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling and talk about Ring of Honor. Like I said, the Pure Championship is coming back.
New Japan is so 2002.
Oh, my God. then obviously you don't listen to
God.
hashtag 607 TWS every Thursday night on Twitch, Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Definitely join in that chat. So let's take this show home, shall we, with some locks and leaps. So, Pat, are you ready to lead us off?
Yeah, so looking at my lock, I think this is probably the easiest pick of the week. I would be surprised if we don't all pick this for our lock. That is the Kansas City Chiefs to defeat the New York Jets because, holy shit, the Jets fucking suck. Currently, the Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 19.5 points, and yeah, I expect them to clear that and then some.
Coach, are you taking that as your lock?
I am not, because I have picked against the Jets twice now, and I've gotten burned.
Wow, okay.
I'm not doing it again.
That's fair. And then for my leap, I know Rich will be happy about this or pissed at me. I'm taking the Oakland Raiders to defeat the Cleveland Browns. Currently, Cleveland is favored by 2.5 points, but I think the Raiders will be able to pull that off.
He's going to be a little fired up. I mean, I know you guys are now tied on the 607 podcast bracket on our Facebook page, so if you're going there to check, which Coach has taken the lead in our overall podcast group, who's up by 1, I believe.
Let's go. Listen, I really wish I was putting money on these games right now because I'd be up. But, here we are. I'm going to share that with Pad. I'm going to take the Raiders as well. I know it's a West Coast traveling east, and I don't really like that idea, but I think the Raiders are playing really good football right now, and I think that they're going to win this game. And my lock, I say it time and time again, I hate picking Thursday night games, but I find myself picking them time and time again. I'm going to go the Carolina Panthers and Big Teddy to spank the Falcons. Panthers are at home, favored by 2.5 points.
This will be when Atlanta haunts you, because who is Atlanta?
Atlanta's falling into the end zone. That just when you thought Atlanta had every way to lose a game, no. They found a new way.
Not so fast, my friends.
Which is to fall into the end zone. And it's so ironic because, I was listening to, another podcast talk about it. It was like, this is just karma for Gurley 4 or 5 years ago, when he had that wide open lane to run, score a touchdown with the Rams, and when they played the Patriots, when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl that season, he had that big run. Ironically, I think it was against Atlanta where he fell short of the touchdown to secure and so they could run out the clock. And now here he is, almost the same exact situation, and his momentum carries him into the end zone. It reminded me of Bradshaw in the Super Bowl against the Patriots where he tried to turn around and stop, and he just landed on his butt in the end zone just like a little kid, like, oh, Mom, I just fell in mud. Like, that's what, it was so funny. Yeah, but just when you thought Atlanta can't lose games any worse.
They find ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible how they do this. I have to give them credit for it.
Yeah. At this point, it's artistry.
Yes. The art of losing.
The art of losing.
By the Falcons.
And by the Atlanta team.
Yes. So for my lock, I called it last week. I'm sticking to my guns. Hey, Tua, welcome to the NFL.
Oh.
The Rams are favored 3.5. I think the Rams are going to absolutely demolish the Dolphins.
They're not going to be prepared for them, that's for sure.
Exactly. So this is going to be brutal for them. I could see this being a 10-point victory at the minimum. I think the Rams are going to come into Miami and absolutely go crazy. I know it's a 1 o'clock, West Coast, East Coast. I don't even give a shit. This is going to be Tua's going to wish he's back in Alabama. Enough said. And for my leap, let us roll some dice, shall we? For me, I don't think it's that crazy of a leap, but I saw the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers are dogs to Baltimore.
Interesting.
So they're dogs by 3.5. So you know what? If Big Ben and company are the real deal, they're going to have to go into the Purple Rain, known as Lamar Jackson's home stadium, and take one away from the Ravens. This is going to be hard hitting. This is going to be a very close game. So that's why I say I like the Steelers in this one. It's going to be close. It could be a 3-point game. I fully am banking on that. So that all being said, the music you heard on this episode of the ODPH podcast is that of Brian Wolf and Fair City Fire. Now, Brian has been doing something on his Patreon, Pat. He's been doing Patreon concerts every Wednesday night on his Facebook page.
Oh, cool.
So you definitely want to go over and check that out. How do you get there, though, Pat?
I don't know.
You go to ochoduroparlayhour.com/music, and the new updated Brian Wolf music links are up on the page.
Cool.
You can also check out our friends such as Shout Out the Robots, who just rolled out a Patreon and who got some really cool merchandise. You can also check out Second Suitor, Tom Jolo, who was just on the show. The episode is still downloaded and charting all over the place, and all the other great bands you hear here on the ODPH podcast. You can also go over to the directory, which has friends of the show, such as Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming and Excite Wrestling, organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter, and voter registration. And remember, next week to get out and vote. If early voting is in your part of the world, definitely get out and do it. You can also check out all the amazing pod groups we are in via their Podchaser pages. So shout out to Pod Nation, shout out to the Legion Independent Podcast, shout out to Alternate Reality Radio, shout out to 607 Podcast, and shout out to the aPODalypse, who we are actually pod rating our friends over at Horror Zone 607 this week. So shout out to Rich, Ron, Mike C, and hashtag Big Natty Cool. Find out what's going on with them on twitch.tv/607podcast. They got a lot of gaming stuff going on. And the Boys Rewatch is starting very soon. So Diesel has not seen The Boys.
Uh-oh.
Do you believe
Oh, my God. Still?
Yeah, he has not seen it.
Jesus.
He's going to start from
We talked about it on the one UFC that he was with us.
Yes. Yeah. They're planning on starting within the next couple weeks.
My God.
So that is going to be must-watch TV. If you have ever seen it, much watch streaming, however you wanted to find it, you can find out about that and so much more at OchoDuroParlayHour.com. That's all I got for this week. So for your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy.
Good night, and go Bucks.
For the one and only Padawan.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Stick it to Tua. We're taking this one. No offense, kid, but screw Miami. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. We'll see you next time.